enfin un booléen quoi. Tu renvoies true si l'unification de deux
Ah, tu fais
trucs.
match goal. Enfin,
Même pas, enfin oui,
tu
enfin,
fais un match qui.
tu fais unify, ça suffit. Enfin,
Ouais.
tu essayes d'unifier deux types,
Mhm.
et en présence d'une certaine contrainte, ça marche et il va te renvoyer un truc. Et en présence d'autres contraintes, ça fait. Et sans la contrainte, ça va pas. Enfin, ou plutôt le contraire. Enfin,
Si elle n'est pas encore arrivée.
si elle n'est pas encore arrivée, le terme, la tactique va foirer.
Mhm.
Et genre, ça te génère vraiment true et false. Enfin, les
Bah
booléens
oui.
true et les booléens false, et c'est grave en fait. Ça veut dire que le modèle enfin, je comprends qu'en moyenne ça marche, sur la plupart des exemples.
Est-ce que personne backtrack sur des.
Bah, c'est pas clair.
Enfin,
A priori,
peu de gens backtrack sur des contraintes d'univers satisfaites.
mais ça veut dire que la sémantique qui dit que normalement on devrait avoir les mêmes termes, peut-être up to des contraintes d'univers, elle est pas vraie. Tu peux vraiment faire des termes qui sont complètement arbitrairement différents. Et genre, ça m'a un peu choqué quand même.
C'est chaud.
Ah bah,
C'est l'exécution des tactiques qui dépend de ça.
et puis mais en fait, même l'unification, je pense que tu dois pouvoir trouver une manière
Oui.
de générer des trucs Enfin, je connais pas suffisamment l'unification pour faire ça, mais je pense que si
Oui, tu peux backtracker
sur une
sur une
contrainte
contrainte.
d'univers, il doit pouvoir essayer un autre truc qui fait. Toi, genre, tu fais match machin ou is true, false, enfin is base zen, un truc avec une contrainte, enfin, j'en sais rien. Un truc qui soit convertible comme il faut.
C'est sûr, c'est un effet caché, l'univers quelque part.
Bah,
On fait comme si tout était insensible, mais rien n'est insensible.
Ah bah oui. Et donc, donc moi, ça me paraît un peu suspicieux comme. Je comprends l'intérêt technique, que c'est bien de pouvoir porter ça en parallèle, machin. Mais en fait, tu n'as aucune idée de la valeur relative du bidou, quoi. Enfin, je sais pas quelle spécification tu peux mettre dessus, quoi. Parce que
Du coup, non, je peux pas.
c'est
Ce sera
grave.
jamais la même chose que séquentiellement.
C'est-à-dire que dans 99,9% des cas, ça devrait être la même chose, modulo peut-être des contraintes qui sont pas les mêmes.
Faudrait analyser qu'est-ce qui dépend des univers ou pas.
Et là, t'es mort. Enfin, moi, ça me paraît une faille grave dans les sémantiques du truc, quoi. Et j'en étais pas conscient. Et oui, je suis d'ailleurs une autre faille d'ailleurs du même genre, enfin qui est pas tout à fait une faille à propos des univers.
C'est complètement irréparable tout ça.
Ah, c'est complètement irréparable. Je savais pas que tu pouvais rajouter des contraintes globales entre des univers à travers l'univers polymorphism.
Ouais, une petite instancier
Non, mais même
la
pas.
constante ou pas, la
Voilà,
constante apparaît ou pas. Du coup. C'est un peu bizarre. Ouais.
Ça m'a l'air très étrange comme. Parce que comme je suis en train de trifouiller le kernel sur ce truc-là, je me dis. Mais je sais pas,
c'est naturel que ça arrive comme ça.
Je sais pas, parce que moi, naïvement, je me disais, bah, tu devrais quantifier que sur les trucs qui sont quantifiés polymorphiques. Et a priori, il faudrait rajouter comme contrainte globale les contraintes qui concernent des trucs qui sont globaux, quoi. Mais même ça suffit pas parce que par transitivité, t'es coincé parce que ça va en générer.
Ouais. Tu peux en générer des globales.
Mais ça a l'air. Ça sent pas très. Il y a du code qui sent pas très bon là-dedans dans le noyau. Je veux dire, il y a de la sémantique. Je suis sûr qu'il y a des petits bugs d'unsoundness qui se baladent dans les parages.
Je suis pas sûr qu'il y ait de l'unsoundness, mais.
Vu comme on traite les univers,
contexte, si les sections, oui, je pense.
Oui, dans les sections, il y a des trucs, on fait des trucs dégueux.
Mais sinon, là-dessus...
je sais plus, je te dis, il y a des
trucs... On pourrait extraire les contraintes globales. Mais...
Parce que tu sais, j'ai fait un patch où je debroinise les trucs, là, et j'ai des bugs, j'ai pas eu le temps, ça marche pas très bien. Mais je suis sûr qu'il y a des endroits où ça marche parce que tu fais des hypothèses vachement fortes sur la fraîcheur du nom des univers et si tu donnes des trucs, si à travers l'API du kernel tu lui files des noms qui sont suffisamment ça veut déconner. Tu enregistres là déjà.
Comment qu'on a...
T'as un micro de meilleure qualité ou on va encore rien entendre comme la dernière fois?
Ouais, il marche, enfin, j'ai le truc là mais...
Ça marche pas. Technologie supérieure qui a l'air.
Ah non, mais ça fait pas le micro. Faudrait que toi tu regardes sur ton...
Sur YouTube, avec des écouteurs, sinon ça fait un Larsen sordide.
Coq Working Group May 23rd.
Ok.
C'est le titre.
Comment je trouve ça sur YouTube? Envoie le lien sur Coq Rico. Ou sur Reddit, il y a toujours Galec. Ça, c'est Next Coq Working Group May.
Tu vois, mais
Non, c'est pas celui-là.
May 23rd. Non, tu vois pas.
Sur Reddit YouTube.
Non, sur YouTube.
YouTube. Tu crois que YouTube va trouver ça?
Coq Working Group, ouais, j'ai trouvé. Je suis live.
Ça marche jamais. Plutôt le. Mais ah oui, ça, putain, ça marche actuellement en direct. C'est la technologie derrière. Alors, attends. On est à côté donc il faudrait. On va parler là-bas, voir si c'est.
Je sais pas trop quoi.
Il y a un petit délai. Oh, mais qu'est-ce que j'ai une voix débile là.
C'est le volume max.
Hein?
C'est le volume maximum.
Là, je suis à fond et j'entends pas grand chose. Attends, il y a une minute de décalage. Quoi?
Il y a combien de décalage? 30 secondes.
Ouais, un truc comme ça, moi. Attends, est-ce que tu es levé là? Attention. Je confirme, qu'est-ce que j'ai une voix débile. Oh là là. Je me souviens de pouvoir faire une boucle. Je commente le fait que j'ai une voix débile. Alors vas-y, non, j'entends rien, ça y est, tu parles, attends.
Moyen.
Ouais, j'entends, je suis à fond et j'entends pas grand chose.
Et sans ça?
Tu peux vraiment pas augmenter la puissance du micro Non, c'est vrai que cette technologie supérieure ne nous permet pas de. Ouh, il y a un Larsen là.
Si je mets l'input à fond, mais que je mets pas l'output, parce que moi j'ai un Larsen, il y a un feedback en fait sur le...
Ah,
Là c'est à fond, on voit encore que c'est léger quoi.
ouais, voilà.
Là t'as à peine 3 barres de volume sur le micro. Ouais.
Et même avec celui-là. Le temps que ça aille, parce que là. Ah là, je t'entends bien, mais ça sature. Mais c'est mieux comme ça, je pense.
Ça sature.
Enfin, non, ça sature pas trop, ça. Un peu. Enfin, il y a un bruit blanc dégueu dans le fond, mais je t'entends qu'il parle au tableau. C'est mieux que tout à l'heure. Mais il y a juste un bruit blanc sordide.
C'est parce que j'ai copié le coq ou...
On peut leur rajouter un coq faire un bruit blanc.
Non, parce qu'il y a pas de radiateur, mais... Il ne fait que ça.
Bon.
Je sais pas pourquoi il est faut un mixeur en fait.
Ouais.
Bon, je vais peut-être le prendre sur le budget coq. On va voir.
Fais gaffe, tout ce que tu dis est enregistré là, toute tentative de détournement de fond.
C'est pas des détournements?
Oui, bon.
qu'est-ce qu'on a mis en avait
19.
Ouais. Enfin, il y en avait 19 avant que Emilio ajoute encore des flags.
Mais je sais pas ce qu'il foutait hier soir. Mais...
Non, mais je sais pas si tu as remarqué sur ces derniers jours, mais Emilio il a ajouté le flagging discussion avec les emoticons pull requests, notamment les siennes. À chaque fois, il soumet, hop, il rajoute le flagging discussion. Ou le minute discussion.
Sérieux?
Mais c'est parce qu'il n'a pas compris ce que ça voulait dire. Ça.
Si, c'est juste pour en
Non, je pense pas. Je pense vraiment, vu le comportement, qu'il n'a pas compris.
J'étais avec lui pendant qu'il rajoutait le minute discussion à la pull request et ce request, et il faisait ça clairement juste pour l'emmerder.
Peut-être pour celle-là, peut-être, mais pour d'autres, à lui, franchement. En même temps, le jour où ils seront documentés, les flags.
Oui, non, ça je plaide coupable là-dessus. Mais
Oui, je sais bien.
c'est chaud quoi. Mais en fait, ce que j'ai prévu de faire là, c'est. J'ai pas fait de talk, parce que j'ai pas envie de faire le même truc que d'habitude. Donc je vais juste montrer les listes que j'utilise. J'ai pas eu le temps de documenter, mais au moins je peux peut-être le dire rapidement. Je vais vous tester.
Oui, ce serait intéressant.
Il vient Emilio ou il pue
C'est pas lui qui commence? C'est ce qu'on avait dit?
Non, c'est pas les filles que moi.
Il parle aujourd'hui. Je n'ai pas regardé le programme.
Vous avez remarqué que Mathieu est non seulement arrivé à l'heure, mais en plus il arrive en avance.
Ouais.
Il est arrivé beaucoup en
Bien en
avance.
avance.
Et le truc pour filmer est déjà prêt.
Moi j'ai des
À
gros
10
doutes
heures
là.
pile.
J'ai des gros doutes, c'est qui le pauvre que c'est dessus.
Ils veulent le copain.
C'est ça.
Je crois.
Probablement. Pourquoi ils suivent comme ça? T'es en train de couper une info là encore ou quoi? Ou c'est juste la
Non,
vidéo qui...
c'est juste la vidéo qui prend. Qui fait le bruit blanc.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Tu nous as caché...
C'est pas sur mon ordi. Oh merde. C'est le truc d'à côté.
Mais-
Tu nous as caché une vie secrète là avec...
En fait, je suis en train de passer une audition là.
Je ne te vois pas.
Enfin, mon hologramme en fait est en train de passer. Mais j'ai un
J'espère
petit
que ça va pas
problème
défaire sur
Un
nous.
petit problème de synchronisation.
changer la sauce. Ce qui va être en plus, c'est si le mec commence à projeter le graphe, c'est marqué. Ça fait tout mal. C'est possible, c'est possible. Ouais, c'est des... Ou alors...
Là, c'est le Windows Manager professionnel.
Mais donc en fait la sécurité de driver, ça travaille pour les projecteurs.
Alors que sur le film, j'ai pas ça, donc je pense que c'est...
Si le top management a une réunion top secret avec des slides, ça va être un bon moyen de tenir au courant.
Side channel attack.
C'est pas jaune le navigateur.
C'est le fond de.
Du vieux papier.
On dirait le fond de Coq Ideo.
Mais c'est Cocorico ça?
Corn
c'est
Silk.
jaune.
Ah, c'est peut-être parce que j'ai lancé Coq Ideo et quand j'ai fermé, ça a laissé le.
Ça a laissé le coup jaune.
Mais regardez notre page.
C'est la balance des blancs du...
Bon, bref,
Changez de table, s'il te plaît.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Pull request.
D'onglet, pardon.
Ah, d'anglais.
Non, c'est un peu
Non,
joli.
non,
Ouais.
c'est jaune, papier.
Bon, bah, c'est pour reposer le télé.
J'ai pas pu.
Ok.
Should we start already? Strike 10. Ça c'est dangereux.
Ça va faire mal.
On a fait que la partie qu'il fallait faire. On a consolidé.
Erlang, putain, t'as du Erlang dans tes.
Faut pas que je
Putain, ça a
déballe ma vie
diminué,
privée,
on avait 106 tout à l'heure.
Pardon?
Ça a diminué, on avait 106 tout à l'heure.
Eh
je
ouais.
crois. Tu viens d'emmerder dans le
J'arrive
poste.
pas à dormir,
Il y a merde, j'ai 2 pull requests avant.
non, c'est plutôt que hier, j'avais pas trop eu le temps de... Normalement, tous les jours, mais... Je vais
Quelqu'un
expliquer ça, parce que je pense.
Quelqu'un sait pourquoi je peux plus me connecter à Pyrolyse au fait
So there are two things I would probably I'll try to address two weaknesses of the current process that I'm following, and I will try to improve on that and explain how. So maybe you can start with what I think works okay. I think overall the pull request the way we handle pull requests works fairly well. There were some remarks by Hugo that were discussed in some pull requests, which was not the right place, but I think it would be good to...
It comes as it comes.
Yeah, but what I mean is that this discussion should not be lost because there were interesting points in it, so at some point I hope that we go to a more precise discussion on this and the remaining potential problems. One thing you can notice is that the number here of open pull requests without any filter is more or less stable. It's between 90 and 100. This is on the upper side of it, so I'll try to make it better during the day. But what is not so satisfactory from my point of view is that I was expecting my role to be basically pushing a button once something is ready, which I think there was only that I could do efficiently. I could merge those. So it's not just that today. And so I think I'm going to try to explain how I handle requests, which one I will see easily and so that you on the other side as authors can have a chance to promote your own pull requests. Okay. So there is one, I have several lists corresponding to different filters on GitHub, and that I consult at various frequencies. The one I look at several times a day is basically, so yeah, apart from this weekend and today, is one that filters, so it filters out pull requests containing labels indicating an action by someone else and needed. So those labels are fix needed, in progress, testing needed, and needs review. Yeah, I'm not sure why need is on both sides of it. So what that means for you is that basically if you want to push your pull request, you should try to get it without labels, or I mean at least not those labels. Oh, there is also in progress. Okay. So all of those labels for me indicate an action required by someone else. So they are not in my the highest priority. So there is a flow with that process, which is that only members of the organization can change labels. That's unfortunate. I think it's a very standard need, so I'm surprised that GitHub doesn't provide a way to allow authors of pull requests to change the labels of their own pull requests, but probably they will come someday.
So what should we do if we want propose a change in the sets of labels?
So just to clarify, can you change the labels or not?
I
think
try,
you can, right?
I can try.
Because you, okay, because I thought, so what, I thought members of the Coq organization could do it.
Only the core.
So this is even worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't think there is any way to set up the permissions in...
No, I think you need right permissions to be able to set them.
I think this is just a flow in the design.
So what do you suggest to do? I mean, for
so what people do today is that they
ask for it.
They ask they ask on user or in the pull request to change the label, and usually we see that. But clearly, it's a point that would not scale so well if But I just hope they address the problem. I'm sure. I mean, this is a standard use of labels for pull requests. I don't think we're doing anything exotic there. So I would expect that they improve this.
Maybe you can just write to them. They seem to be pretty responsive.
Okay, so well, all I'm saying should be written in the document. I'm sorry, I didn't find time to do it yet. And I realize that some of you didn't know, so Hugo said it explicitly, like he didn't know whether he was expected to remove the label once, for instance, you have the fixed needed label, then you fix it. Should you remove it or not? And the answer is yes, you should remove it. But if you don't, of course, from time to time, so I would say nowadays.
Who was changing the labels beside you?
No, I think people were doing it.
Sometimes.
Mathieu was doing it.
Yes, I was doing it.
Enrico also. But they were changing on their own.
Yep.
So other people, they should write you a mail now.
The easiest is a comment in the pull request saying, please remove and people do that already.
Yeah, Jason does.
Yeah, it's way better than an email because any core developer can come and say, okay, I remove the label. So it's fine for you as core developers to remove the label if you think it will reflect better the current state of the... Labels are not reflecting decisions. They're reflecting what we think is the current state. This is an easy and convenient way to see the current state of the pull request. So anyone is free to. So it's just for filtering. This is also the reason why there is a needs review label. So you may have wondered why there is already a review system in GitHub. So you can assign reviewers. It shows pending approval or something like that. Then the reviewers say something. You can click on the approve button. And we have this redundant system with needs review. But this is also because of the flow. That I don't know how to filter according to the status of the review on the real system.
That means that when we do a review, we remove the needs review?
Yes.
Okay, so let me do that for one already.
The guideline is the clearest you can make the current state of the pull request, the easiest it will be for me to just read it through the button.
I think that if you go to the list, there is a green tick in the ones to merge, for example.
Yeah.
The green tick is not green if there was a
Review missing?
asked.
And it's missing?
That is
Yeah, but
missing.
filtering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
for filtering you have a filter approved, review approved.
Ah, okay. That's very good.
You could use that as well. And then it would
Okay.
need that people who review
Click on the
properly approve the review.
So I didn't know that, so I would try to use it. The only concern maybe is that sometimes we have more than one reviewer.
Yeah, so I think that...
So what is the semantics?
Okay, so we should investigate that, but I
Okay,
think that
I
as
will
long as one reviewer has asked for change, then it's rejected, and if there is one approved review, then it's approved.
Yeah, so if one is pending and the other one is approved, that does it. But we can investigate. I just
But
didn't
you also have a filter for review required. So maybe you can combine these.
Okay. Well, okay, I'll be interested if we can get rid of this. Okay, and what I was about to say, that from time to time, so like once a week, nowadays, I also look for out of sync labels. So I have one which, I look for fix needed in progress, is testing, and then I read it and I try to see if just the label wasn't updated. But this is more time consuming because sometimes you have like 50 comments and none of them says clearly what the final state is. So this is also something. If you want to make the whole thing efficient, please be really clear about whether you're trying to block the pull request or not. So a very common case I see is someone reviews part of the pull request or the entire pull request. So that's the first thing I don't know. And then makes a remark and doesn't say whether they should be blocking or not.
Big question. Fix needed, is it something that a human has labeled or is it an automatic
All labels are put by human beings, but for fixed edit often reflects this status, yeah. But it enables to filter. So is it possible to filter according to this?
Probably.
It used
Is
not
it
to be.
possible to filter according to this on the error it gives, like remove?
Oh no, that won't be possible.
Yeah. Ideally, that's what we would want. I agree. Because that's
the question was about notation that thing has been tagged as fixed needed, and okay, I didn't have time to have a look. Is it a test that has failed or something like that?
Probably yes.
so it's it's up to the author to.
Why it does not have the tag?
This one is the original one.
This is the problem. You have Travis which has failed.
But which one is? What's the title?
And okay, so
What's the title?
Without
numeral
notation without S.
We found it even if there was no.
I know.
I wonder what the search algorithm is. Because it found this one, but not that one.
In documents
The
or
same
bench.
query. But okay. Yeah, fixed needed is because you see the red. This is just so it's up to the author to investigate why like the old times.
But that's a bit tricky because sometimes it doesn't reflect the current state of the PR, so we would need to modify Travis locally in order to keep with the old because it's tested with the master of the all the stuff, and sometimes doesn't compile, so that's a bit cumbersome.
Oh, and it has conflicts as well.
Well,
So in that case, that's just a reason for me.
Could not complete. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, there were problems. Not just the test suite.
yeah, it looks more.
In this case, it's for me the label signals something to the author that he should be investigating why he does that. And then you remove the tag, the label, if you have permission. Okay. So basically, yeah. The only another thing that slows the process down is PR hijacking, which happens quite a lot. When the discussion is clearly not related to the pull request itself, it would be way better to have it somewhere else, like on CodeDev or on Gitter, because it would be seen by more people. It would not slow down the treatment of the pull request, which it does just because when I wonder later on, I wonder what the current state is, I have to read the unrelated stuff. And another thing is that because I remember seeing, so you at some point made a comment in a pull request. So in that case it was okay, but I'm just trying to say that we shouldn't push that too far. The comment was, I'm putting several unrelated commits in this pull request to make the process faster. And in this case it was okay because there were actually completely trivial commits like the typo fixes and stuff like that. So I merged it in one go and maybe it was better. But just to say that usually it slows down the process. So it's way better to, I remember the invalid identifier thing, for instance, because when you put unrelated changes in the same pull request, what really happens often is that people ask for some modifications on only part of it. So the rest could be merged immediately, but just because it's part of the same pull request, it's not easy to do. So please separate it's not a big deal to do 3 pull requests if 2 of them can be merged immediately.
It can be kind of big deal if you have one that is based on the other.
Yeah, this is different.
And it happens easily.
Yeah, but I have examples in mind where it was not the case. Yeah, but
But what's the problem of making? You can do that, right?
Yeah, you can, but it doesn't.
One of the
make
problems.
it very clear that what you are really proposing, because the pull request that is based on the other pull request includes all the changes. So it's not really easy to review.
The problem is very clear, is that nothing makes explicit the dependency. So for me, it's not obvious. I have to review the commits in the history and say, oh, that reminds me of another pull request. Or I have to read the entire line of comments, hoping that the author did not forget to
But
say it.
how can we do anything else?
Well,
No, yeah, I think GitHub
I
could
think
do
in that
better.
case you have basically two choices. If this is well separated, you propose the first pull request and you push for it to get merged quite fast, and then you propose your next pull request, or the other solution is to include everything in the same pull request.
But even having two, I mean, any solution, I'm okay with any solution. I'm just saying that it has.
But I'm thinking of making two pull requests and the second one saying, oh, I first need.
Just
yeah, okay.
The only problem that you need to rebase, I suppose. If you make
no,
changes
I
on the
don't
first
think-
one.
no.
I don't think you
If
would
you-
need to rebase.
If you put the commit in the right order, so in the pull request that includes everything, if all the commits of the previous one come before,
I think it would work.
there's still the merge commit.
Wait,
No, I think it's
it
okay.
does work.
It's okay.
It just gets updated with.
No, it will be okay. It will be okay. You will apply the merge commit on top of it. That will be okay. They will disappear completely because of the
Just
because of the way
just
merge works.
Yeah, the second one, the dependent one shouldn't be then rebased.
Yeah.
Should
Should be on the same.
the
Same
second
commits.
one's
Yeah.
same.
Okay. So that was the. I'm trying to improve things, and of course I apologize for not having documented this, and it should be done.
Do you have an experience in managing pull requests in other software?
Yes,
Which,
I have personal projects on which I collaborate with people. But why do you ask?
I mean, I try to understand the rationale behind the processes. Is it something that we are creating, or is it a model that we are following?
If you look, okay, so maybe then the question, I mean, you don't have to be in charge of other projects to figure this out. You can just look at other mainstream GitHub repos and see that a lot of large software development projects are using the same kind of workflow.
Yes, there are a lot of questions which comes on how to decide. For instance, how do you decide the reviewer? How do you decide that it needs a review? Or you decide that it needs more reviews?
Yeah.
It's extremely complex if you want to do it in a very fair way. So how does it do?
So about which reviewers, GitHub helps me. Suggest reviewers according to who touched
The files or something.
things like that. So the problem is that it's, you touch many parts and you're on the top. But I'm just saying that according to GitHub, my experience is that most of the time GitHub suggests Rigo as a reviewer, which is usually fine, but it's a lot of work.
So it suggests automatically the.
Yeah, you can pick, I mean, it gives a list of candidates, and you can, with one click, you can.
Like
For
Facebook,
myself, I can redo it myself.
Except for
That's
the
usually
suppose.
what we end up doing when
Yep.
when exchanging with. Yeah, I agree. There is a bit. So, do you have the feeling that it's not fair currently?
I will get stressed sometimes. I didn't understand the rationale. I mean, I don't know how to avoid some part of arbitrary in general. So
But we are not going to
the
avoid
only way
some
to
part
avoid
of it.
arbitrary is to allow discussion.
Well, what I think is clear is that the entire process is transparent. Anyone can see it online, and it's very easy to complain about something that you think is unfair on a specific case. So I don't think we're going to
it
address.
will become more transparent when there is a documentation.
Yeah, yeah. No, but you can.
Yeah.
No, but the results. I mean
The results are transparent, but
I mean,
sometimes you need the internal knowledge to understand how.
Yeah, I agree.
Process.
But I try to make
Yeah.
everyone rely as little as possible on this. I mean, it's just about the delay. I think. The delay today relies on. I mean, you can get your pull request merged faster if you know the internals. That's why I wanted to show it today. But by delay, I don't mean it's still the same release, right? So it's more like it will be two days later. So it's I don't think that's qualified as a fairness issue. But it would be better. I mean, of course.
That's okay. For my pull request, typically I try to choose the reviewers I think are most appropriate, so I can pick
Oh yes,
a reviewer
authors
for
can
my
pick.
pull request. So
No one said I should
Well,
pick.
not all authors, only core developers can choose reviewers.
Yeah, okay, the same issue.
yeah, okay. But in
organization.
No,
But
but-
at least.
But
those
even
who have
so,
the
I mean,
privilege
nothing
to-
prevents you from saying,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
that's
Jason
me.
does it often. I think this should be reviewed by, and then he mentions the.
Yeah, you can.
But that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't think we
mention
have a
some-
real problem.
Jason is part of
No, Jason is not a core developer.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
just-
myself, he cannot change the
The labels.
reviewers, the labels, the milestones.
So this is a real pain.
Sorry, is it hard-coded in the core reviewers? The thing.
It's with the right
commit.
permissions to
Permissions.
the- which we created with core developers.
Mm.
So if this is a real pain, so I want to emphasize that this is not done on purpose. If I see any way to avoid this, I would be really happy because I think it goes completely against the workflow. But,
The way to avoid this would be to be much more liberal in acceptance of core developers.
Yeah.
I was not expecting this because I think that core developers are just something we define. That you define. So being more liberal.
So
I'm not sure what it means, but we could accept the idea that some people who are not on that list have the right access to the detail.
And tell them only use this to do that and not this.
Well,
Yeah,
today,
it facilitates.
It's,
The core developers actually could delete the whole repository, I think. They have the right
Yes.
to delete.
You can transfer ownership and
Or
things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
so
Yeah. Yeah, it's a package.
No, there are two things. There are owners and there are I don't know the
Members.
other term.
Members.
Members. No, members is larger than that.
Yes.
But you have some. You can give right access without the permission
Whatever
to
core
delete.
developers are admin
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
project.
Well,
Are you sure?
technically,
Is that true?
Yes, I do.
Maybe that should be changed. But okay. Well, at least I updated the list, so now it reflects what Mathieu showed last time. But we have a list also. I tried to maintain a list of kind of external collaborators in the hope that I could give them permission, typically to
that.
change labels, but
Yeah.
not to write. But it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
no.
We
I
should
think-
add it down.
Okay, so that's it.
Are we really all admins?
Yeah.
No, not all.
Yeah,
All the core developers are admin, yeah.
No, not Emilio and not.
Yeah, not the last
No.
one.
Yeah, that's.
Because no, it's just a history. When I added a few names to the core developers to reflect the list, and I didn't put them admin. I wasn't aware that before that we were
could
all put admins.
But then I don't understand. If you
Neither.
check on settings, you will see that core developers are admin. If you click on settings,
Settings.
no, it's the other one.
Project
Next
system.
people request.
Left.
This one.
Yeah, well,
And you check collaborators and teams,
yeah.
We're all admins.
so you need to be authentified. But
No, I was authentified.
Yes,
That's
but I
this
mean-
again.
This is pseudo mode.
exactly.
No, but you are typing elsewhere.
Yeah, that's on purpose. You want to see my password?
No, but it's not
Come
going to be
on,
displayed.
start
Come
it
on.
out.
I think. I hope. I don't know.
My-
No, it's I'm not putting my password manager.
Okay, you don't remember the password.
If you remember your passwords,
No,
please
no.
change them.
It's just using the wallet of the browser instead of a separate one.
Yeah, it's just that oh no, but usually I do, but for pseudo mode anyway. We are diverging.
High technology. Yes, we are diverging. Clearly.
How long do we have for this?
It's almost over, and I wanted to say one more thing.
Oh, we know the lens.
It has been recorded.
And
Yeah.
there it is. The core team
Yeah.
has admin rights.
So you could make another.
Oh, and you could put it in right. Okay.
But I think no, this is not exactly the same thing. So this is admin of the repo, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is already.
If you're owner of the organization, I think there are a few more things you get.
It's great.
Typically, there is more than one repo in the Coq, belonging to the Coq Working Group. But I mean, okay, I think this is not. We should review this probably. Okay, and
I should write to GitHub.
the last thing I wanted to say is that
Just one thing about this pull requests. There was this suggestion by Hugo to make maybe another category of fast pass bug fixes.
So there is already a bug fix,
Yeah.
which for me means fast pass.
Which I think the idea was we would like kind of put a timeout on the treatment of those.
So this, I mean, I don't understand. I read this too, but I don't understand what the point is. What is it trying to avoid? The time spent in what state?
I think that the bug fix takes ages to get. Gets lost in the pull request and
But
does not get processed.
Because it's in what state?
I think Maxime was right that trivial bug fix are
Yeah.
If they are not, then you should point me to examples.
Because there is a title bug fix that so some of them are mid-discussion.
Is review.
But bug fix is not a synonym of trivial. In fact,
No, I know that.
many controversial changes I've seen in the history
Yeah.
start with tentative fix or bug fix, fixing bug, whatever. So
Yeah, I know.
But the question of delay should also be
Yeah, but so this is a valid concern. I wanted to talk a bit about it.
Maybe this is very subjective, but I feel I'm losing a lot of time not knowing when this will be integrated. Do I merge it on my punch to work on it? Do I send a mail so that it's merged in the day and then so it's always a lot of administration of meta.
Yeah, and you didn't even
There were clear rules like after 3 days, if no one has complained, then it's okay to be merged or.
Well, okay, so
Yeah, maybe
So,
we will get to that.
first, I agree. I mean, you didn't even mention rebasing, which is where the real pain is, and you maintain the thing, right? But my experience is that pull requests taking long are actually waiting for reviews. That's the most common state.
And not wait for reviews forever. Either. So
Well, but the solution is not to bypass reviewing the reviewing process. The solution is to get responsive maintainers.
What Theo is saying that it can work only if everyone is
Yes.
contributing actively.
So
Yes, by the way, I've read somewhere, I could try to find it again, some blog post that was explaining advantages and drawbacks of the review system.
yeah, I read that too. I think it was sent by me.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay, and this was really interesting, and
Yeah, we should send it to.
and precisely the main point was, well, it will work well if the main priority of the developers is to review other developers' work.
Yeah, well, at least it should be a priority. I mean, it should be
Yeah,
really
maybe
one of
that's
the tasks.
main priority.
It should be one of the tasks you have in mind when you set up your agenda for the week.
Yeah,
you shouldn't
you shouldn't wait more than 1 week to say something about a pull request. But that was what Hugo was also saying.
So I'm not here to challenge the responsiveness of people, but I can say, I mean, maybe I can say, for instance, Hugo, I think is extremely responsive. I am not. As a reviewer, it's funny, but it's not funny. There is a real bootstrap problem, which is that because of the lack of reviewers, sometimes I have to review things that were unattended, and that takes me way longer than it would take to review stuff on parts I'm expert of. And it turns out today I'm slow on those reviews where I'm expert because I'm spending the time on the other ones. So there's something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. What do we do when somebody asks a review? So, for instance, here I have a bug which I'm a reviewer, and that's a bug fixed by Mathieu, and this is something I have no fucking idea about. So
Did you say it?
I didn't say it, but I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you say it.
I'm probably the most experienced one to answer this kind of question, but even that,
in this case, I mean, this happens a lot. Okay, it
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
That the main expert doesn't understand the problem, the context, or whatever.
Okay, the main expert
The second main
expert.
This is a very common pattern. In this case, what I do, for instance, is I ask for explanations, and I ask for the explanations to be written in comments.
Okay, right.
And I think that will help everyone. I mean, if you don't understand, either you're very tired by the next day, or it's just very difficult.
Yeah.
And if it's very difficult, it should be really explained in the code.
Yeah, and this will help
Everyone.
Others, yeah.
everyone, and in particular, this will help to reach a state where there is no part of code that is understood by strictly less than 2 people.
Yeah, so they will improve the bus factor.
And this is part of what Hugo also said to me that he appreciated about pull requests. This is the pedagogical aspect, the knowledge transmission that happens.
Yeah, well, especially, I don't know if you've noticed, but we switched from a kind of almost purely oral tradition, because this knowledge used to be shared in the corridor and in a few places in France. And so one of the points of this is to make all those written so that engineers in the US or other people can share and get the knowledge. And this has proved very effective in, I mean, there is already, I'm surprised by the quality of contribution of some new contributors. It's very impressive. They can just jump and fix real hard issues, and they do it without any problem. Some of them do without any problem. Some of them.
This triggers another remark by me is all this data that you said is in written form is in the pull request comments.
Yes.
And we know that we are not going to use any other tool than GitHub in the foreseeable future. But GitLab idea, well, I don't know if we discussed it, but somehow I have the impression there is a consensus that the GitLab at INRIA is not acceptable to provide a good support tool. So that makes that this written information in the pull request comments is part of our strategic data.
That was
it's not part of our code, but it's part of our strategic data. And I know that Hugo already looked at the solution to make sure we have a copy of this outside of the GitHub thing. And maybe at some point we should put on our agenda to have a way to maintain such an outside copy.
Yeah, I fully agree. In fact, I think pull request commands were the thing we had in mind when talking about the migration to a platform, from a platform to another. Because the code, it doesn't really matter. We all have copies of the repo.
Yeah.
But this is a key.
But, I think there is an API to download the comments, right?
Yeah, but I think that's what
Couldn't they be part of the merge committee too? At least.
It's very heavyweight. I'm not sure we want all the.
I don't know. It's true that comments can be added after the pull request is merged.
Yeah.
This is true. But at least if there is something relevant.
It's also easy to, in the GitHub interface, to go to the merge commit, click the dièse, the hash number thing, and to get to the pull request where you have all the.
But that means relying on an external tool, having access to the web and everything. So it's.
This is not perfect, but I mean, you don't often need to do that because you don't often need to read the code.
But I think it's an interesting discussion. But
maybe we can just commit the discussion.
Yeah, that was what
Enrico's solution.
In the file
Enrico
said that.
But he was proposing to commit it in the log.
Yes, but in the log, then git log would be very long.
so what you meant is to put it in text file or something.
Yes, like we have the tested batch flows, there's a lot of bugs.
Yeah,
we
that's.
have a
We
file,
can give some.
we have comments on PR number.
We need to think a bit
The
about
point
that.
is that it would be, it would be introduced in the history of the software together with the merge. It's a good way to find it, but if you have a directory saying comments on pull request 6.2.4, while if you end up in a commit that, it's
But
just
I think we are mixing a bit issues because there is a problem of backup and searching and history. I mean, all this should be addressed, but not in 2 minutes or in minus 10 minutes.
Yeah, we don't have time to discuss that now, but we all agree that
there should be something to
be interesting topic.
Well, the reason in the Linux kernel they don't use these tools is actually because all the peer discussion happens in the mailing list. So this problem is solved.
But they also don't commit the mailing list.
But this is a mailing list, it's an archive, so they just Google and it's there. I mean, it's a very easy format to you know. So in fact, this is what I would like to have seen proposed that I create a GitHub for PR because I prefer to do discussion with my mail interface, not with the web browser. So this is a choice, but everybody has a.
I thought they were the same on your laptop. Both of them were emails.
Huh? Yes, but the GitHub is white background, so it could be.
I mean, it has nice interactive features, so you can.
And it's,
Okay, so
but the possibility to archive, let me finish, the possibility to archive the GitHub discussion is subscribe a mailing list called GitHub PRs. And as you get the mails, then all the mails there will go to the mailing list. And this is a very easy way to archive all the discussion happening.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there is just a problem of edited comments, which
well,
are not
c'est
sent.
pas perfect. Okay.
Yeah, but up to that.
But that's like an easy way if you want to do
Yeah.
something in 5 minutes.
So I think, I mean, honestly, we might have scalability issues on the maintainers and reviewers side. Sometimes I don't know exactly what the problem is. So for instance, there is a pull request. I think I pinged the PRO today 8 times, and then I did the review, or 5 times maybe. But it never got an answer. And sometimes I don't know just if it is the communication channel that, I mean, you didn't.
Because I'm not aware of this thing.
Sorry?
Probably since I'm not aware of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
thing.
so that seems to indicate that the signal didn't.
Yeah,
So that's what I wanted to figure out. One thing which is key is that I think everyone should have a distinct channel for general purpose GitHub notifications, even they could just not receive them, that's fine. And way more prioritize the channel for mentions. That's the key. So I don't know, Pierre, for instance, do you receive mentions when you're mentioned on GitHub? What does your mail filter do?
Probably, but lost in the end of other notification I did.
Okay, but my point is that I mean, and this is for everyone. I'm just taking this example because I was expecting that you didn't get the signals. Your email setup should clearly distinguish the pool of all notifications. Maybe you just don't want to see them.
Yeah, so
From the ones that mention you. I mean, if it doesn't distinguish, then you're not going to be responsive. It's impossible.
Yeah, there is a problem, but I don't know.
What is the
want
problem?
to discuss technical details, but I mean, yeah, there is a lot of noise. Once you are mentioned in a pull request, then you will get all the notifications.
All the following ones.
Yeah.
And that's not related to you, so it's drowned.
But it's less drowned than if you put it in the entire thing and you receive all. Because in the pull request I have in mind, there was only could this be reviewed?
But really, this is this is a real problem. The quantity of emails you can receive if you receive all the emails of pull requests, and so you can change your notification settings in the GitHub interface to only receive an email once you are mentioned.
So that's one way. But also you can use filter on your email interface to distinguish.
Yeah, if you have a good enough
Or you can do that in Thunderbird, for instance.
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, you don't need something geeky.
Well, this is geeky.
Thunderbird?
Yeah, today it is.
No.
Okay, 90% of people use webmails today.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
Wake up. Cinnamon is not even maintained by Mozilla anymore.
Yeah, I know that. That's a real hassle. Anyway. Well, anyway, so but I think
yeah, that's terrible.
I think, I mean, if you are a maintainer, you should make sure that you see messages where you are mentioned, and you can be aware of them. They are not drowned in the ocean of notifications. What they mean is to get that. That's up to you. But I suspect this was the issue on this one. If you don't know how to do it, then say it, and we will try to find a solution on your. And at some point also, I mean, I should keep updating this document, maybe pinging people again, asking if they're still okay to maintain everything. Oh, there is still, I didn't remove the document. Anyway, because the problem is that some names come very often, so I mean that's also a scalability concern. Okay, and then to conclude,
I think one thing I've done terribly wrong for that release is the maintenance. Well, I didn't do it wrong because I didn't do it, but that's wrong. The maintenance of the roadmap. So I think it's a shared responsibility, but so when we started working on 8.7, we had agreed on a list of features that people were working on. Basically, it never got updated. I think that it's my fault because I didn't ping people and ask where are you, blah blah blah. But I also didn't receive any. And the only signal I received on this document was a pull request by Emilio, updating the status.
2 months to be marked.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. But it took 3 months that you realized that it's been burned. So that's
Yeah, I realized suddenly and I forgot.
But anyway, this is a very serious concern because what it means in practice is that, for instance, I'm not aware of what's going to be ready for 8.7 or not, and I have no idea. And I think each one of you is in the same situation with respect to others.
Or maybe nothing is ready.
Nothing is ready.
No, some things have already been merged. So
Yeah.
Can
we
you
are
get that
aware
with
of what has been
I would
merged.
just like to say that I had completely forgotten about this page. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I didn't
Yeah,
do anything
I-
because I
It's
just.
my bad. I agree.
I didn't forget about it. I checked it regularly and I've seen that it wasn't moving.
So I suggest 2 things because we're not here to cry on what didn't happen. We should update it during this working group. Maybe offline, but
Just like moving everything to 8.8, right?
maybe. But we should know.
Maybe not
the point
everything.
is we should know what remains and what doesn't. And I'm not sure we will move everything to 8.8, for instance, because if you look at what did not happen, maybe some stuff will just not happen at all, or it will happen in like people could not realize, not even for 8.8, it will not be ready. So it's not clear to me that it's
So we
100% mapping.
We should start the 8.8 roadmap, but
Yes.
we should also start the long-term roadmap.
Yes, so-called to-do.
To-do list.
That we have talked about many times. But yes, I think we should also have a roadmap without any version or target as a pool of improvements or evolutions that we consider. So for instance, I can take an example. So okay, so let's first. I didn't communicate to anyone the status of what I had promised to do. Of course, it's not ready. But it's not always the case. That's the problem. If it was always the case that no signal means not ready, but it's not clear. For instance,
Not really.
Not ready.
It's also not ready. But I learned it
But there is a
yesterday.
pull request.
Yeah, so
And I don't know, for instance, when did you realize that it would not be ready?
Well, in the last months.
Okay. So that. Well, all I'm saying is that so far, we still have a workflow where we're working on fairly independent stuff. So that's why it was not a disaster. Although the communication is really not good. But the more we will work on maintainers and then a lot of collaborators in the same component of the system, the more it will have no chance of working if we don't communicate the current things we're working on and the evolutions, or we will make people work on useless things that will be made obsolete by our own changes in the same component. So we really need to address that. So Emilio suggested that I maintain this just by pinging people and doing a secretary work, basically.
by the way, we can also have this roadmap not in a text document like this, in a separate repository, but we can use the project feature of, the project feature of GitHub and associate each item to a milestone.
But what? Okay.
And this allows to filter.
What are the items?
Well,
No, but on GitHub technically, are
Sorry?
they like issues? Or?
no, this is a separate.
Okay, I can have a look at that.
But it could be issues. We could also choose to these issues to
Okay,
specific
so I went way over time, as usual. But, so as you may have seen in the program, most of this working group will be devoted to discussing pull requests. I think, is it true that Emilio hijacked the entire thing by putting the in this discussion label on
No.
many pull requests? 20 or no? Yeah, it was just one.
Yeah,
Okay.
one more.
So we have 20, okay. I suggested we look at the ones labeled needs discussion. If you have any one that is not labeled that you think should be discussed, and you have permission, just add the label, if not, say.
Right to somebody.
So there are also more than 12, at 12 pull requests with needs review, which are more than 3 months old.
Yeah,
Yes.
So we should look at
It's not
them.
very fair for the people who submitted them.
yeah, I agree. And I think I have some.
Yes, so the needs review should be addressed as well in this working group, no?
Maybe some of them, but it's not a very efficient way to review, in my opinion. I mean, when the review is a technical review,
Yeah.
it's not very efficient to do it all together on the screen.
Yeah, not collectively, maybe
Ah, you mean
during the
yeah.
order.
It has to be.
But I will try to bother people so that they can get it.
What is, I think, generally missing with the workflow, I think, is that for the contributor, it's not clear where he is in the pipe. Like, before me, there are 50 other things to consider, and I'm 51st. It would be, well, but I don't know how to implement it, but that's really what would help. If you know that, okay, now I'm 50,
There you are.
49, 40, so we are moving somewhere.
Yeah, so I understand the concern, but if you look at other projects, typically they don't address pull requests in
Sequential
order fashion because I mean,
Priorities, okay.
scheduling is not that. Good scheduling would take into account the delay of the cost of delay of the pull request, which is not at all the same from one pull request to the other. Then the difficulty of doing, is it a trivial task where you do it and then just have to write okay. So I mean, I think doing them in order would be a very bad way of scheduling.
But I think
On
the
the
main
material.
problem of contributors who are waiting is because people have forgotten that they needed to review. Not.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, usually not that
So
long.
why are we
I
waiting?
mean, most of the time, most of the weeks, you can allocate a moment in the week to start a review. Unless you have a deadline or something like that, or you are in.
But this is
on
something
holidays.
I don't know why people don't review.
Well, just because they are
Maybe
not
you
used
forget.
to.
Okay.
It takes some time to getting used to. You are the one using the most.
So
you
there is a
can-
very useful filter
Yeah,
here.
but do
Yeah.
people know about this?
No,
That's
Who
why.
Yes.
here knows about it?
I didn't know.
Can you all have a look at this?
Yeah.
This is the most useful thing on GitHub.
Okay, so now everyone knows
But of
about
course,
it.
of course, I will not click on it because
You
it's
can also click on
But-
pull request and see. Yeah.
No, but really, as I said, really, I am very slow at making.
Ah, you're zero at the zero.
Yeah, but
A round
I'm
of
not surprised.
applause for you.
I have to, but I've mentioned in both cases that I wouldn't. Not sure exactly how you remove the review.
Oh,
I don't want to read.
Can you
I don't know.
try to do that now?
You have I have no idea.
I think you
button.
should remove the needs review from you if you
Yes.
cannot
don't want
provide a review.
Okay, let me do that
Okay. So that's.
so that I will be artificially to zero. Add your review. Maybe there is.
I forget to remove the needs review thing when I
How do you do that?
Yeah, yeah.
this is.
You're one of the guys. But you also don't approve.
Yeah, approve, please.
So maybe we'll merge those two things.
And also, don't say it looks good to me. Say approve if you are sure that you approve
Yeah,
release of the request.
there are some people in the room
You can
doing
do that.
fake reviews.
Fast
And
review.
It's based on, or let's say, reviews based on heuristics rather than reading the changes.
You cannot make a,
You can always make
no,
mistakes.
you can never make a real review.
No, but you go. We're not talking about the same thing.
No,
I
but
mean, it has to be an approximation. And by the way, reviews are not meant to capture all errors, for instance. They should be done by testing, so it's not the point.
Testing
But-
proofs.
And proofs.
No, but wait, no, but I meant some examples occurred in the past where someone came and said, looks good to me, and was in fact not even agreeing with the change. I mean, the main thing that the pull request was.
So there are two ways to review. You can add comments and you can approve. Adding comments is easy. I do it, although I have no. I can't really approve because I don't have the sufficient knowledge. But approving should mean, as far as I'm concerned, this should get merged.
So I think your scheduling ability is a bit because
How am I
Sign it
supposed
up.
to change the review stuff?
Same thing.
I'm supposed to
Say, I
finish
don't
it.
review that. I don't know how to do that.
I was slowed down by people like
To
you.
faire add your review, mais
I did
dans ce
not
cas-là,
slow
je
down.
vais te...
I think on top of
Request.
to one of my questions. If I'm waiting, if someone submits something, we have no answer for 3 weeks, it's already over. What is it? Who is the responsibility to do something? To the person? So do we say to people, you submit, if you have no answer in 3 weeks, please ping.
But
No, no.
This is the rule.
No.
happen anymore, no?
No, usually I ping. I mean, on most pull requests, I ping
Yes, but
on a regular basis.
No, I
But then sometimes it doesn't.
because these are all pull requests. New pull requests get addressed in general.
That we have a
I
backlog
don't
of
think
things
you
we
can
didn't.
find a new pull request that
Not
was
really
waiting for 3 weeks without a comment.
Yes, but
So we have a problem with all pull requests.
But let's not be kidding. There are some bug reports that didn't get any answer
Oh,
for
yeah.
2 years or 3 years.
Bug
more
reports,
than
this is terrible.
Yeah, but why should pull request be any better?
I mean,
Because there are less.
in practice, no, I mean, in practice,
No, but
This-
I have
That's
an
activity.
answer. I have an answer. Bugs are typically difficult things because that's where we got things wrong in the first place. So you tend to concentrate issues of the system and complex answers to find. Whereas a lot of pull requests are just, there are many more trivial pull requests than trivial bug reports. By
Yes,
far,
but-
by an
Yeah.
huge amount.
The pull request we are talking about those that don't get any answer for 3 weeks.
They are not
They are not the
trivial.
trivial ones.
Yeah, of course, they don't really.
So it's the same in my opinion. So
But I'm just saying that overall-
it's normal that a bug remains open for several years. Not
no, it's not
No,
normal.
it's normal. I mean it. No, most bugs should be addressed, but some bugs will stay open for several years. It's normal. It happens in every software.
We have a
Pull
bit more.
request shouldn't.
This is a big generalization of what you are saying, but
I mean, very difficult bugs sometimes are not solved. Ever.
Yeah, that's good.
We have some cases for sure.
So basically,
But
the
pull
request
request
the
should
work
be
is done
addressed.
already. You just have to review it.
Pull requests, most of the job is already done.
Yeah, totally. To address a bug report, you have to do the work, get it reviewed. Basically, it will probably go through a pull request, so the pull request will also need to be addressed. And then we can close the report. So I think it's fundamentally more work to properly reply, and fix
A bug,
a real bug report.
instead of just reviewing a request.
But I agree that we should do a better job at addressing
Fixing
this.
the error.
This weekend was very good. Thanks to Emilio
Who was preparing it interview?
Enrico take the word.
So Emiliano?
When you
wasn't even
tell me
aware that
this.
Emilio was starting that, and I started.
I gave you twice the amount of time for both talks than you asked. So.
Maybe we finish in time.
No,
And
because
I
he has
found
2 minutes left on his
A bug
slide.
report in which someone was saying.
So sorry, but maybe that's for a coffee break.
Yeah.
So now Emilio is going to talk about the AST, his own personal AST roadmap. Do you think he wants to share?
Yeah, well, in fact, okay. So in fact, well, the first thing, so This is about what's going on with the AST. This is very relevant for user interfaces. This is the main motivation to talk because it's mainly what the user interfaces have to deal with. So, du coup, the first slide it says discussion. What are other ideas of people about the AST? So maybe because it's something we haven't discussed so much. So yeah, and I tried to ask on GitHub to people, but I got very little feedback. So this is your moment to say, this is what I think of the AST, this is my plans for the AST, and I like the AST, I hate the Coq AST.
Maybe you should clarify what you mean by AST.
By the representation of the parts proof document. I think this is pretty clear. After syntax tree, right? We are all on the same page here.
Yeah, but which one?
But there are many ones.
They are not
There are three.
That might be part of the problem.
Yeah. Okay, I will explain that. There are two, if you want, not many. There are two at most.
Three. Three.
No.
What? It should be two, or there are actually.
There are no three ASTs. Sorry.
Terms
What do you
are
mean?
not ASTs.
Oh, okay, fine. According to this.
Well, if you conster is not AST.
Okay, fine.
Obviously, well, for me, it's in that the kernel type is not AST for me. It's like
Fine.
it will be like the SSA in a compiler.
Okay.
I think conster I not counting an AST is a problem though. It's not related. It's not related. So well, I don't know. So yes, there are two. Well, let's assume.
So let's clarify completely. By two, you mean conster expert and block conster?
Yes.
Why do you consider block consters AST?
Well, it's playing the role many times. I will discuss that. But okay, I could just consider only consters for now. Yeah, I didn't want to get into that now. But no, okay. Apart from this is later handled in the slides, so I don't know.
So first we discuss, and then we understand.
Const-
No, first this is okay. Call for opinions, projects on the AST. Anybody has a project relating to the AST?
Yes, understanding it.
No, well, there is documentation already. Well, there is in Hugo slides.
Yeah.
No, this is.
I was there.
There is documentation. There is a couple of mails I wrote to some students, and I'm assembling in this step. Also, in my step, you have quite a bit of details.
Okay.
Well, it's not assembled globally, but one of the goals of the work I'm doing is precisely to document everything. Okay, but this is your project. Is it good again?
Well, maybe one project I have, which is merely related to that, is that we have the object-oriented style for generic modification of the API, generic interpretation, generic internalization, and whatnot.
Yeah, but this is. I will discuss about that. This is not in the step. This is a big problem. The current design has many drawbacks and few advantages. It was introduced to have tactics in terms, right?
No.
Yes.
Not before that. There were like a lot of flags just for the special handling. We've been hacking around for a lot of things like that.
The only current thing you need that is for having tactics in terms. Tactics are not known in advance in this okay.
No, but I mean, for instance, even the fact that you know that a variable refers to tactic binding as a conster or something like that is already crazy.
Anyway, but you were trying to do that into the pretyper, right?
No. I'm talking about the internalization. Internalization is like a huge pile of whatever.
Yeah, and what is the goal? Yeah, well.
So what's the problem? You're suggesting to make an object-oriented interface?
Yes, so that every user, instead of having a lot of flags to say, oh yes, I am internalizing a conster for patterns, for tactics, for things like blah blah blah, we are actually having a lot of different needs.
But are there so many flags? There are not so many.
I think there are.
I rewrote notation now, so one patch I have, there are no.
Two flags. Well, let's look at that.
Yeah.
So what is not a lot?
Sorry?
What is if two is a lot? What is
No.
not a lot?
The only tricky part is actually you have this generic argument object. This is in the explaining the tip because you can have tactics in the term, so you have to register internalization for the tactic component. Okay, this is not too bad. That means the IDs won't be able to understand tactics in terms in the near future. But okay, that's a minor drawback. But yeah, I don't know how many flags. I didn't see so many flags. In fact, once I put my hands into it, internalization is way clearer than it looks. It's a bit entangled. The main logic is the main problem for me of internalization is that three things are happening simultaneously. The logic is a bit hard to follow. So, for instance, you need to think a bit. Sometimes how is the logic going? But it's not so bad. It looks more scary than it is. Sometimes like so I don't know. I thought okay, it's gonna be hard. So I don't think there are so many flags and so many special cases and so many things. I don't know, but I moved notation as a separate phase to do experiments. So what's the
Why do
distance, Enrico?
Yeah. Now that we talk about it, I had something. It's not a project of mine. I'm not going to change it, but it's something that is getting in the way for something else I'm trying to do. Is that I consider pattern matching compilation a sort of notation. Okay.
Yeah, but this is prototyping again.
Yes. No, that's the problem. I was looking at the code and I quite don't understand why it is done during the prototyping phase. To me, it should be a transformation on the AST.
But you need type information,
Yes, you
right?
need type.
Yeah, many types.
Yeah, that's the reason.
For what? For example, you already know either the pattern matching is empty or at globalization time you know the inductive type. Because you know the constructors. The constructors are...
Isn't there the crazy thing that you have
Yeah.
special patterns that are, variables? You can't decide whether something is a variable or constructor sometimes. I'm not sure you get that. Yes. You know that you have the crazy thing that you can pattern match on a variable.
But there is a crazy thing about primitive notations. Primitive as in
Patterns.
literals.
No,
Yeah.
okay, that's...
So where you
Yeah, but
infer the...
But I
Which is
think
the real
we-
reason for it being...
So today we do rely, sometimes we do rely on having the types today, that's for sure. I mean, examples.
okay, which is
Yeah.
the reason... I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
But
for
to
instance,
compile
if
pattern
you-
matching, we need typing information.
The type.
yeah.
Why
No,
do
no,
you
no,
take
no.
the type?
It does not.
No, it's just whether it's elaborated to a pattern or not. It's not
No,
typed.
it's
It's
not.
not typed, it's not
It's
typed.
not. Well, there is a request by JSON of having notations
No.
with types.
It checks if it
But
results
this is,
to
I told
pattern,
him, this is
or
very,
a
very
non-pattern.
far from happening
and then it
these
moves
days.
to the
Yeah,
next interpretation.
Okay, you could call the pretyper from them, but it's going to be for now. We have better things
Yeah, I
to do.
don't think it's a very good idea. I think we rather should.
So why
You
is it
rather
that
should
type?
use tech classes for that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're entangling even more the...
You can use
The
tech
things-
classes.
Yes,
Well,
yes. I think type classes are the proper answer to this kind of issue.
This kind of
Yeah,
overload.
for notations.
They type notations.
Yeah, well,
Notations are really.
Anyways,
What about the compilation of pattern matching? Sorry.
so
Yeah,
for,
that was already.
Oh, you diverge.
Yeah, we diverged in very
Yeah,
quick
so
time.
What is the answer to
Can
Enrico's
it
question?
stay on the AST, the transformation, at least, or there is a good reason for it?
Well, it needs to manipulate the return clause, so it needs to know in which context the pattern matching is there.
Why?
It's very dependent on the context.
Why it needs to manipulate? I mean, no, something manipulating.
You need to, it's doing inversions, right?
No, but
To simplify the pattern matching, that needs
creating the
typing
return
information.
code, if it is missing, it can mean that the typer.
Yes.
But that's a separate concept.
No, but the compilation itself depends on it.
Hmm.
The match that you produce depends on it.
No, the match structurally it has the same number of branches,
Is that
whatever.
what
Then the
the
No, 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 it doesn't.
by compilation of pattern matching
does
compilation?
not.
The,
No,
the
that-
output,
that's
yes.
crazy.
The output, yes.
The output has the number
Yes.
of branches that
The-
is the one of the
concept.
inductive type.
Yeah, but the input pattern matching might not have as many branches as there are
Yes,
constructors.
but this expansion, why does it need?
Because it depends on the type of the object you're matching on. Like
No,
if
it
you know
depends on the inductive type. Not
you
on
need
the
to, but you need
No,
to
no,
type
no, no.
the match.
No,
the
no,
theme
for
must be
instance-
match.
For instance, if you do write
you can
head-on vectors
Yeah.
on with length, which is a successor,
Mhm.
you need to know that it is a successor so that the
You need to
elaboration
type
of
the
the
length.
return clause
No,
succeeds.
but I think the point of view is
Yeah.
still valid. I
Yes,
mean,
this
the
way.
inductive, the matching at the end will have two branches. One
Mm.
will be filled in using type information to be
Yeah.
just false.
Isn't
So why this first expansion that just
Because you need
But they are-
to, you need
no,
to
no, I
type
think
them
they are
what the
crazy.
thing you're matching on.
What is the interpretation of crazy? When you have several patterns that are there is like crazy code
Yeah,
to
expansion.
interpret this. The
You need to do
the
case
expression is
splits
type
and
directed, I
expansion.
think.
the patterns are complex, they are deep, and they might overlap.
Yeah, and they are not going to produce the same pattern.
So this
I
could
think.
probably be done,
I think the question is not whether we should stop doing it,
but
but
you would do
whether
it
that
in two
could be
phases.
done. Yeah.
No, I think you cannot do really a lot without types. Because for instance, the first thing you need to type is the thing you're matching on, you need to know the type. For instance, if I'm
But this
matching
you
length
know-
of a
you
list, I
already
need
know
to know
that.
this
You
is
know,
not.
you know the inductive just by looking at
No, how do you
Uh,
know length of nut? Why do length of nut is a type nut?
no,
Length of
because in the
No,
pattern
no.
matching
You
you
have the-
have
You have the
written
constructor.
You necessarily
and
have a
zero.
constructor, otherwise it's not pattern matching. If you don't have any constructor, it's not pattern matching.
this
Yes.
case is false. Okay,
Mm.
you know.
But even deciding that is not that easy because of all the.
In order to know the constructors of something, I need to type it.
No.
You see the constructor patterns.
Yeah,
They are
right
given,
there.
yeah.
When there is a pattern matching or not, the globalization phase already tells you that the first
Yes.
branch is associated to the constructor of not
Yeah,
successful.
so you know you have the
first,
inductive.
and the second one about zero.
Yes, syntactically, you know the.
Well, this is so of course you will need okay. I think
So just to clarify, there is no answer to an
no,
equal
but
question.
okay.
Well,
it
does
could be
anybody
fine,
here
it's
understand
fine.
the pretyping of pattern matching? Hugo, maybe.
Yeah, I think we
But that's not a pretyping.
Yeah.
For me, it's idealistic.
Hmm.
You can try.
Yeah, but constructor.
To move some the expression backwards.
Yes.
Or at least split the process in
Yeah,
two
that's what
phases.
yeah. When you need to infer.
Maybe we can do part of it like the tree, creating the tree.
Hmm.
But I don't see the why.
What is the point?
Yeah, what is the point?
Why?
Just to understand it better, or what?
I don't know.
What to do?
The reason is that if you want to use okay, my use case is that I want to use the parser of Coq
Mm-hmm.
and then to produce a term, okay, or something that is a term. The point is that today either you produce a term that has not been typed yet, it is a glob const,
Mm-hmm.
but also the pattern matching is not expanded,
Mhm.
so it's not quite the term you would like to have, or you go through full-blown pretyping, so you get a fully typed const.
Mm.
And
No,
what
you
I would
do.
like it to, what I want to code is a new pretyper.
Mm.
Okay, so I would like the
Right.
pattern matching expansion to be done first.
But I think I mean, you could rephrase what you said in a simpler way. You want to implement a new pretyper, so if you put the most stuff you can put outside will be shared by the pretyper implementation.
Yeah, you could
That's what
already
That is the.
modify cases to make.
A compiler is already dependent on the pretyper. It's already.
Yeah, it's entangled.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it takes an input, a pretyping function.
Mm.
So I don't want to pass it the pretyping function.
But I think you could generalize it to return just an alpha in the right hand side.
Yeah, I think in the end, anyway, what you're going to do with that glob constructor is to interpret it. You're not just going to have it there. So the real reason, the only thing you will do with the glob constructor is pretyping. So if you can write your own pretyper, then you'll be
Yes,
fine
but
with not
my
having to.
pretyper, I wouldn't like to call the compiler pattern matching.
Yes, but you could. So if you had an open pretyper, then you could just derive that and say, oh no, I'm not going to. I'm going to write my own interpretation of pattern matching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That
well,
would be-
anyways,
That's
so
not
this is.
what I want.
But it's
But-
just more complex.
But I think
than
this is
design
a well-contained path, and yes, you could try to, I guess you could try to write it, so yeah, it makes sense to try to see how much
No,
you
but
can do.
before spending time into moving it outside, I would like to know why it is in the pretyping and.
Yeah, okay, I think this is a bit, this is interesting.
Hmm.
And regarding what Pierre-Marie project, I think Pierre-Marie project, I'm a big worry of this stuff, because I understand correctly, because I'm failing to see, for instance, the motivation for it. Other than that, I don't know for the pretyper, the pretyper I have no clue. But I don't know, at least for the syntax part, I would rather use polymorphic types that keep adding more like objects here, because in my opinion, they tend to work a bit better.
Well, I mean, there are two things we don't know. So the motivation you said, and also what we mean by objects.
Yeah, no,
Because,
this is
you
well
say
defined. No, this is
object-oriented,
well defined. It's
there-
the Francois talked yesterday on visitors and this stuff. This is-
Yeah,
No, but there is more than one way to implement it in OCaml.
Yes.
We could use OCaml objects.
No, I'm not going to use objects.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
not
but you
going
should.
to-
by the
all
way,
I'm
you
saying-
should.
No, I
you
shouldn't.
see, so clarification is needed.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
not
going
talking
to
about
write.
the
I'm
same
going to
thing.
write a CP as a.
Yeah, but by the way, you should. Francois and I think Xavier, I think they agree. You should use what is in visiting the last paper, implementing your open style approach.
Yeah, but
They're using classes.
Yeah, but you can do that.
It's the most convenient thing.
But
Well,
so, for instance, in the case of, I can give a very good example. So we're using the same code to write LTAC interpretation, internalization, and the proper internalization and LTAC internalization. And there is like a lot of hacks to say, oh, yes, this is actually maybe a variable that has been bound by some LTAC term, and this has nothing to do in interpretation of terms that are just given
yeah,
by
but
the
this is
user.
unfortunately because the AST is unsafe. This is my point.
What? This has nothing to do with that. It's because the users, the
It's
clients are not doing the same thing with the same
No,
same
but
object.
that's only
Okay, so for patterns and for
Patterns, yes.
constants,
that's
you
the same thing.
treat variables differently.
Yeah.
Lookup is different, means something different.
So we've got at least.
So that's why you need this
Ah,
two.
no, okay, you mean for the patterns in our
And notations as well.
But it's also
And
because
notations as well, yeah.
but
You need
it's also
three different
because we confuse both. No, we
Because there is-
conflate both at the pass before or something.
Yeah, because the reason is that it's easier to write the same code and add a special handling in the various options, rather than just rolling up your own code that overloads the precise implementation that you are going
Yeah,
to
but
use.
for instance, Pierre-Marie, you're writing a new prototyper, right?
Sorry?
With your approach, this amounts to writing a new prototyper.
No, it's not in the prototyper.
It's
It's
not, so it's before.
internalization.
It's just internalization. Just lookup of.
No, but in
Bibles.
internalization, then okay, I'm confused because if you're talking for the patterns, this is not necessarily like that.
Yes,
Then this
yes,
is
it
like
is.
that.
Yes, internalization. There is a how is it called? Notation conster, or I don't remember
Yes,
whatever
yes.
it's called.
Hmm?
And okay, so no. So if you consider, for instance, LTAC,
Yeah.
there is LTAC specific code in the internalization phase.
Why
Right.
so?
That shouldn't be there
Because
because
there
most,
is tactics on terms and which are unsafe.
this has nothing to do with tactics and
Yeah, this
terms.
is the only reason you need
No, this has nothing to do with
Just
tactics.
with
So
match
and
goal
imagine we remove tactic on terms.
This-
Why do we still?
Ah, well, I know
Because
what you mean. You mean,
This has nothing with tactics.
yeah, you mean the thing for the variable scoping.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
To know that something that when you write a conster in LTAC, then actually the
It
variable
might
can be
capture
bound
LTAG variables.
in some
Yeah,
LTAC variables.
but this is actually, yeah, indeed, this is actually a matter of the environments should be shared.
No,
So the
it's-
LTAG sign that is used, right?
yeah, but it's a real mess. I mean,
That's
we
for
should,
tactic on terms.
we shouldn't be doing that this way.
Yeah.
And this is something that needs to be solved. And furthermore, we shouldn't be using the same path, well, the same code for LTAC internalization and generic conster internalization, because they have little to do actually. There is actually, if you look at the code, there are
But they interpret the conster mostly the same way, except for variables, no?
except for variables, but
No,
that's
but
already.
variables and tags should put the correct variable. Yeah, but okay, this is like, for me, this is like a refactoring problem. I know what Pierre-Marie means, but this is what?
It will probably change some semantics, no?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, well,
do you plan to preserve the exact?
yes,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just hoping to separate the two functions, not by using flags as they are doing today, but by
Passing
reusing
something?
the sorry.
So you just pass a function to.
Well, yes, you
Factorize the
just
command code?
overload the one piece of the code that you need, that is variable handling, and
Yeah.
you can have your own environment that has nothing to. You shouldn't be passing the LTAC environment to the function.
Yeah, but
The
why don't you from LTAC? Why don't you update the normal environment for internalization?
Because you don't have enough information. You have LTAC specific information.
Yeah, but the caller, this is what I mean. So if you are internalizing from LTAC a term, like, okay, variable resolution is not so complicated. Come on, like we are for something which is most compilers are doing at parsing time. Okay, so it's not so complicated. We are just resolving variables.
But it's different.
Well, you
It's
don't-
different
it's
for
not rocket
LTAC and.
science.
You don't know
curves
about
and-
LTAC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know about LTAC. But
Well,
But that's my question. In fact, is that how much of the complexity of this is just due
Yes,
to
it's
semantics
small.
we
This is a
we
detail.
don't actually want.
well, we want
So-
it.
But is it clear? I mean, this.
this is only what Pierre-Marie says. This is a detail, though. It's not so
I think
essential.
Hugo wanted to say something 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
There is a bug in the syntax, so you backtracking, that we use question mark x both for pattern variable and for
Yeah.
existential variable.
Yes.
And this is a bug in the syntax.
Okay.
And this is why there is this flag. If we didn't have this overlapping with the syntax, we
Oh, allo pas de var?
Hello, pas de var,
Ah, okay. I see that.
Just because we have to, the
When was
question
the
mark
syntax
x
for
has
Eva?
two meanings depending
that's true.
on the-
I don't think, of course, there are, okay, after
C'est
my
très
look
bien,
at internalization,
Bah,
there
on
are
a
a couple
toujours,
of
on a
flags.
toujours imprimé comme
There
ça.
is a
Après,
couple of
on a-
tricks, like
on a
Pierre-Marie said,
on a
but for
parsé,
me it's okay.
après,
Of course, it's
mais
not.
ça,
a-
c'est bon.
I don't see.
Ouais,
For me, this is not a problem.
Tu
There are
devrais pas mettre
a couple of things could be tweaked, but for instance, I don't see a
En même
problem
temps, on n'avait
really.
pas.
Like Google says,
Autre
a
chose,
minor. For me, this is a minor
Non,
thing.
non,
Okay,
non, non,
historical
non,
thing.
It's very complicated. When we switch from
Yeah.
the flags are in very small position, it does not
Yeah, but
Yeah, right, but
invade all the time.
but it's not really that. It's that we are polluting the type of the function. So my main concern is that we are polluting the type of the internalization function with LTAC specific stuff,
Hmm.
that makes it really intertwined. We shouldn't be doing that. Because
Yeah, but the switching to the object system, that for me is like a super big hammer to kill a fly.
it's what people. No, it's really what people need. I think.
No, I don't
By
think
just
you need
generalizing it. I mean,
It's-
what's your concern with generalizing the function? What's the problem
It's
with
the
that?
same thing, but people would just be able to overload things.
Yeah,
on a
but
specific.
allowing you see, so you have this special case and you're adding a generic overloading mechanism, it seems like to me
So what,
like a very heavy thing.
what would you do? Would you keep the LTAC specific stuff there?
I think can be handled like it can be really. I didn't have time to look at that yet. I will try certainly to solve it differently than adding a generic overloading mechanism for every
And-
object
and-
system, 2,000 lines of code, like an
and you
object
would
system,
be-
another object system.
And you would be happy because they would probably remove the need for the dynamic typing stuff.
And,
And everybody would be
I don't
happy
know.
with
In fact,
The
I
dynamic,
would rather have this hack as a historical artifact than adding this generic object system.
Why?
I would
But it's
prefer
not
to
so-
have
I mean,
20
it's-
lines with the hack than 2,000 with this.
It's not just to fix history. It's also, I guess, to prepare the ground for new LTAC implementations and things like that.
I think they should rather not depend because at least this object system, the problem is then you forget about type using the type system for checking your software is correct. So, and this is one of the
No, but
goals here.
we are not. I mean, this is not what we're talking about. It's
Yes,
just that
yes.
if the some function of the
I'm not
internalization
sure, well,
have
This is
LTAC one specific stuff,
this
For
is to be
instance,
discussed
it will constrain the new implementations of LTAC to use the same
I don't
data
see
type.
in the
why
case-
a plugin has to modify the internalization.
Internalization. Okay. Yes. Why? Because you don't have. Because a very simple example here is that, for instance, in the case of LTAC 2, I need the typing information. I had to pass the typing information of variables in order to be able to refer to something coming from the outside world.
You are I mean, what you are suggesting is to make sure that any future implementation of LTAC will have the exact same semantic quirks in binding and so on.
What I'm suggesting is you need, for instance, like open terms, you make your syntax polymorphic, okay, and then you use a polymorphic system as is in the step. I was going to present that. So, for instance, if I need to attach something to have a special type variable, and then I can attach my own data, so then I can use my type system. And of course, you need to be a bit careful because of what it means for the parser and this stuff. Instead of adding the subject system that will be misused, then people will start to rewrite it. Then you will have any clue about what's going on. So it's very hard to analyze how it's going to interact when you overload variables with the rest of the object fields. You know what I mean? This visitor pattern. I don't know for me, but okay, this is a discussion for other day once the step is done. I just say there are alternative solutions to this, in my opinion.
Well,
Let's
but,
have it.
I think the issues are kind of orthogonal.
Yeah, yes.
What you're playing
Yeah.
to
Something to
has
be
little
talking
to do
about.
with the object-oriented
And so,
stuff.
just to
Yeah.
conclude on what we discussed, I think the way to go forward would be to do a recap of the actual motivation and use cases.
Yeah, this is
and
what
then
I'm
we
doing.
see what
to
is the
specify
appropriate.
a bit the theme
Yeah.
before implementing. Okay,
Yeah.
so anyways, so apart, I see Enrico's concern, I think is fairly, doesn't affect integration with the plans. I think Permario staff, this indeed may have a very strong interaction with this, so we'll have to coordinate.
The only project I have in mind from me that changes the AST is the one that adds integers and arrays. So it extends the.
This is and then this is.
But I think it's fine.
But for instance, like the main use cases from the AST, what you need, at least what I could identify, is mapping it back to a document. So actually, you have the parse AST and maybe Coq is adding some parse information or even some type information, and you want to map it back to where it originated. Also to select in documents, okay, point and click, as we know. Attributes, for instance, is another place where the AST is stored. For instance, plugins is not clear whether the plugins want to modify the AST or extend it. This is again the discussion we're having on what is the proper extension mechanism. Because for instance, in my approach is a bit less extensible, but you get many other commodities that today are painful, so there is a trade-off certainly. I cannot claim mine is better. Mine is better in some senses, but less flexible in others.
How is it? It's extensible today?
Yes, dynamic types.
Well, today it's impure. So yeah, you have OBG, so basically you have in the host, you can attach anything you want.
Providing you have some
but
functions on it.
But Genax is just
No,
for
you don't need
tacticals.
anything to attach it. No,
Not
I can attach
necessarily.
random things and make a
Can you use them for
sample.
that?
You've never read the SS reflect plugin.
Once
There's a
again,
pull
it's not an issue to have dynamic types. It's not type unsafe. It's
Well, the compiler is not checking type safety for me.
I don't.
which safety? I mean, already you can raise exceptions everywhere,
Yeah, sure.
and it's not going
Yeah,
to change.
but
I'm
you
not
know,
going.
in a system like code which is 200,000 lines, I want the compiler to check I didn't forget anything. So dynamic types.
But you have a few functions that you can define, which are internalization, substitution, pre-typing things.
Anyways, I tell you something, Pierre-Marie, from
Yes.
the IDE point of view, these generic arguments attach this opaque thing. Can we continue?
Yes.
I can stop if you want, guys. That's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
if this thing is boring, I can think it's boring. ASTs are boring. Syntax is boring. So,
No, but this generic thing is interesting.
but something true for the IDEs, the current thing, you can attach anything. For the IDEs, this means I'm hopeless of ever in supporting this.
No, it means
Yes.
no. You can write a marshaller. You can attach. They define a marshaller.
Pierre-Marie, I'm telling you, for IDEs, and if you want to control it, I challenge you to write an IDE handle this without like.
I think I missed it, but so what are the use cases that are covered by these?
By Genox.
I have one.
Apart from
I have one that has nothing to do with Coq, but I'm using it in this project. For example, I had to add quotations, whatever, to Coq. So I want to write a Coq term, and then in the middle I want to say, okay, this is a verbatim string, leave it as it is, okay, because it will be interpreted later on by someone else.
C data.
And so what I do, I use the genarg thing. I declare the genarg that is a string, whatever. Of course, Coq doesn't ask me to provide a function to print or to marshal it because I don't know. But it's handy for me to be able to put.
Yeah, but where does it
arbitrary
live in the
data.
AST? Where does it live in the AST?
It's in this G hole.
And size G hole again. Anyways, yeah, but for
And you
IDEs, you
can
see.
provide a
But no,
marshaller
an
if you
IDE.
want.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. But then for an IDE, you can provide whatever. For the IDE, this is okay.
But from the
Is it key in your use case to do it from outside, or should you just have extended properly, statically extended
I
the
would
AST?
like it to be a Coq plugin and not changing the AST, but.
yeah, so the goal of the Genox that like people writing plugins would be able to extend Coq in a way that they won't
Well,
live.
you can only use once though, yeah? I have to say.
Let them finish.
And that's something that, well, as you can see, that's something that people want to do. And I mean, it's not very problematic for IDEs not to be able to locally understand one node
Generic?
of yes, because it means it's plugin specific. If you want to have the IDE being able to understand what the
Have to
plugin
adapt
does,
to the plugin.
then you have to code the similar plugin for the IDE.
So what is your problem with that?
No, I mean, the problem is actually, for instance, you cannot make automatic serialization to work, all this stuff.
Yes,
Couldn't,
yes, you can.
Automatically.
Yes, you can define a marshalling function for
Yeah,
the
you can
Genox.
rewrite a custom specific Coq PPS, yes, sure. I mean, with Marshall,
No,
you
no,
can.
No.
I think you can. You can, in PPX deriving, you can say this node
I do that.
is serialized by this function.
I serialize
give
in
you.
ours, yeah, but this is
So that's
Is-
fine.
So yes, what's your
Just
problem?
less regular.
I don't know.
For extensible stuff, you have to provide the
But you know,
marshaller in
there is-
some way.
There is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the point, like typical in functional programming, when you extend something, you just make it polymorphic, and then the thing that is in the whole is just quantify over A. It's another choice, I just say, just another choice.
No, you can't do
Polymorphic
that
with a
here.
type class. You would say this is an alpha that I can print, serialize.
Yeah, that's
compare,
exactly what Genox does.
It's just that it's called
No,
this
it's not
way.
what-
And you want to be
Yes,
able to
it
mix different ones.
Dynamic typing is exactly the same thing. I mean, by isomorphism, by mathematic isomorphism, dynamic typing is just like having an existential type, and the various functions
Well, I
you
mean,
can use.
by an isomorphism, the EST is isomorphic to a natural number, and we are not using natural numbers to Pierre-Marie. This argument is sorry.
Come on, I mean, okay, so
Okay, if you want, we can say natural number. Tell me what the program 1,200,000.
That's called backfire. But
Fine.
okay, I think we need to make
But
more
you couldn't make it polymorphic if you want to have multiple different
Anyways,
use
if you make
cases
it
at the same time.
polymorphic, but this is a point of whether the obligations in the current implementation, clients have to deal with that, whereas in the polymorphic implementations, it's just like the dual. So Pierre-Marie is right, there is a duality there.
yes.
I just say it's usually a pain in the ass to handle. As I had to write a serializer for that, I never had so much pain. So,
But
okay.
I don't see how polymorphism would solve the marshalling problem.
You do the same thing.
Let's try to give more time to.
Oh, because
I
for
think-
polymer. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's get moving.
Yeah.
Because
this
this
not-
is really not,
Okay, yeah, let's move.
even if this is really not a problem, but imagine then if we are gonna put notations, I challenge you something. Put notations as a generic argument, and you will see how much fun you have. As opposed to now, which is an algebraic data type. This is an example. Imagine you want to put notations and you say, oh, notations are a plugin and I put as a generic argument. My prediction is things will go well. Because, for instance, you use a lot of static checks on that you're handling everything properly. Anyways, but for instance, for the user interface, the motivation for this, the most important thing is,
Oui, c'est sûr.
yeah, but this is an example, it's 10 things. So I have to say the history says that this generic argument in the syntax was added to support tactic in term. Is that correct, right?
I think that's
I
not.
think so.
That's
No,
not correct. I mean,
I
this is
think
way.
this is what the git log says.
I think it's true.
No.
So it was genargs were in tactic ASTs before.
Yeah, but not in constants.
Not in conservators.
Yeah.
But because we added the tactic in terms, indeed we have it to have it. But I mean, if you have it in LTAC, there is no reason to not have it in terms as well. I think.
Except if the plan could be to remove it from LTAC as well. Right?
Mm.
Well,
Yes, but then no, I don't think that makes sense in that case.
I just said it was added instead of quantifying the AST over tactic type was added
No,
as
but
generic argument. It's
the
okay.
pattern was already there in the code base, just not on this particular.
No, it was not. It
No, it was.
the AST was pure.
It was. I mean, you didn't understand it.
In the AST, no, it was not.
It was in the LTAC AST.
In the LTAC AST, this is different. Yeah.
But it's
The
part of
LTAC
the.
AST, I'm not concerned with the LTAC AST.
Ah, so when you mean AST,
Because
we
the-
should understand you don't talk
I'm
about.
thinking
Just
the Coq
constant.
AST. Yeah, the LTAC
What?
AST these days is
You didn't
just-
define
Yeah,
what
but
AST.
LTAC AST is part of Coq AST.
Yes.
No, it's a plugin.
Well, no, it is a plugin. And this is precisely why I'm trying to push things.
Well, okay,
out
LTAC
of-
AST, I'm talking about internalization.
It's
so
part of the
LTAC
plugin, but it
okay,
has.
LTAC AST is just for now, it's impossible, it's very hard to handle.
So once again, but
But the
once
point is
again,
that-
the internalization phase has been written in a way that makes it compatible with LTAC. So they are intermingled.
Very is minimal.
No, it's not minimal.
It's minimal.
No, it's not. I mean,
It is, okay, let's have a look.
How fast can you be?
Yeah, you'll have to finish in -3 minutes. So let's say you have 2 minutes. Is it okay? I mean, can you show us your
yeah, you should probably.
roadmap quickly?
Yeah, well, so actually, but no, I mean, if this is the approach, so this is a better, it's interesting because the approach we're going to follow is this approach of this generic argument is actually, my opinion is actually, there is, for me, there is no roadmap. Because I believe, as a programmer, I believe this is impossible to make it work in the way I would like.
So we heard the concern, but can you show the roadmap?
Yes, so well, I mean, the roadmap actually is in the tab, so you can have a look. So in particular, there are many operations, even if we could improve line notations and implicits as a phase, there are other notations, for instance, like things having to do with what tactics are doing. This is impossible to do anything that is not a hack. For instance, like trying to guess what rewrite, how rewrite modified the AST. This is, you can do hacks, but this, with the current design, it's going to be very hard to do stuff like that.
Oh, wait, are you saying that you're going to implement notations and implicits as a kind of instantiation of a polymorphic data type?
Oh, well, for instance, this is the idea in the tab. I'll show you briefly. So, well, noise the main point of the AST, what I mean is internalization. Talking of the Coq type is way harder for other reasons. So, this is a simultaneous process that includes notation, inserting implicit and resolving reference, and a bit of pattern matching processing, and process above cost. And the current thing is, for instance, there are, here, for instance, it turns out log const is not supposed to be used by plugins. So then,
I don't understand why.
yeah, this is a good question, right?
It's not supposed to be used it's supposed to be some kind of private. You shouldn't be pattern matching. You
Yeah,
should be
but there
using
are
the
use cases
But then
today
LTAC
that are not addressable.
Yeah, but then what about LTAC? You see, there is a contradiction here. I don't
Yeah, I agree that there is.
But which is the reason?
I don't get it, right? So some people go, okay.
Because it's a very complicated data type, and you don't have a lot of invariants on
So
it.
just to remind people that this is put in the interface folder today.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are not at all
No,
in
it's-
sync.
Yeah,
on the
but
message
the
pattern.
interface
LTAC
does-
the point was more for
relies on that.
something.
Interface doesn't mean external interface. It means Coq interfaces. I think that should be
But
used by
LTAC,
Coq.
LTAC, there's a contradiction.
What do you mean?
Oh,
LTAC tag
No, it
essentially.
stores. So you need to store glob consters. That is clear because you need to be able to store. There is conster is some kind of compiled version. So you want some kind of the higher level thing, but you're never going to observe it in a way that is different from just glob consters to store things. Things need to be stored in glob consters to match some kind of bytecode. Let's call that. So I think in a way it's okay. So
Yeah, okay,
Because
but
you
what-
pass
I mean,
glob
this
consters?
is all ideology to me. I mean, why is it a dangerous thing to have a globalized const visible by a plugin writer?
no, it's not a problem. I mean, it's okay to have glob conster.
Yeah.
The fact is that it's very hard to use it in a way which is not pre-typing.
Very hard
Uh,
or both?
You can print it, you can
Well, actually-
search in it, it's fine.
But actually the problem is actually glove code is not so different
Yeah.
from the glove const and make it an instance. How is maybe where we are different now, making it an instance of the AST because it's really an AST just with some processing done. In particular, so for instance, one big problem you have in internalization is attributes and this lots of information. For instance, imagine you internalize, okay? You internalize and want to go back, then suddenly by just removing notations and inserting implicit arguments, you have lost, in the current implementation, you have lost a lot of info about locations and about where nodes were placed in the original document. And of course, you could tweak it manually, but it's like very painful to be careful, like actually all the two representations, they have the same attributes. For instance, attribute mapping, when you have attributes, then you have a problem how to preserve attributes too. They should be preserved by default with a generic traversal strategy, and right now, no, you have to pass location. If you look at this part, for instance, you have to pass the location by hand. So another part of the proposal, so this was analysis, so for me the proposal, I call roadmap because I wanted to see the people's opinion and from what is in global. But my proposal is actually, the first start was 402, was a start to handle locations better, which is something the user interfaces need. And it's a good time, Guillaume. We didn't understand, I think, very well your comments on this PR. So maybe you can try to explain a bit better. Okay, so this is the famous PR that finally evolved it. It started like a refactoring on location handling, and finally evolved it to I can show the main change, to make all the AST an instance of, which was the original goal. I didn't plan to go so far. Why is this so slow? It's super slow.
Oh, you're typing?
Yeah, I'm typing. It's very old computer. It's all this. Well, in fact, yeah.
JavaScript.
It's just that it touches too many files.
Yeah, it got a stack. Sorry, folks.
That's a sign that it's a huge one.
It was the JavaScript filtering the list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Come on.
Okay, it's
This
taking.
is too dark.
Come on, filtering a list.
No,
even
but this
in
works.
JavaScript.
That's
No,
the
but
way.
who wrote the code behind the UI?
The computer is suffering.
Yeah, well, so my take. Okay, so my take in the software. Okay, so I'm stupid because actually it's much easier, and this is. It's much easier to see it in Emacs. Okay, so when the idea you see, the idea of this PR, this is the first step, is to actually turn AST into a generic tree, if you want a bit like that. And well, right now it's done by hand. We could also use a recursive type. In fact, this is the next step to really make it more explicit. And then basically here we have only a location, but you can have anything as a record. Then you have a generic thing here, and then you have some mapping operations, right? That will preserve the attributes and will preserve all the meta information attached to every node. And then we have, for instance, concepts. And concepts, for instance, let's take the main concept. This is just becomes, okay, you have like a node type, and then just the expression. So then, for instance, like in internalization.
So const R is the thing we have on top.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
R means raw or not type. Yeah, so you have a node type and the type of node. This is used like in Y3, for instance, uses this representation. This is OCaml doesn't, and it's a mess, by the way. I thought OCaml was using an.
So you're saying that any node is actually a pair, the whole node plus location.
Yeah, as opposed to before, if you look at before, so before you have like in every of these things, you have like location inserted in different ways. So for instance, now getting the location of any node object or the attributes is particularly the advantage of this is allows you to map preserving all the attributes.
Yeah, but for example, just there in that line, in this AST that I never understood why. Anyway, the lambda is n-ary, while in the other one is unary.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and for
in
example,
locals.
you may want to have the location of the single names, right?
But you,
Oh,
have,
sure, yeah.
you have that in
They are.
mind.
But
They are
this
idle
is-
blocks.
This is isomorphic to
Okay,
the
so
other.
you have locations for each node, but also other inner locations here and there.
Yeah, here's the main location for the top level lambda.
So,
Mhm.
so okay, so
Yeah.
so this so far so good. What are you planning to do to extend the CAST.t type? What because I mean okay so
Yeah.
here you only have it's
Just have
written that
locations.
you only have locations in there.
Yeah.
Fine.
So
If
the-
you want to have more things, what are you going to do? Just add a polymorphic data type to say I have an additional field.
Oh, you could add, I will actually be simpler and just add what you wanted for now, like, I don't know, attributes in a camel or a list of strings. So, yeah, I think the polymorphic has to be the container. The good thing if you use them whatever, for
Right.
instance, you see, thanks to the pattern matching here,
Uh-huh.
you see, I can, for instance, do this now. This is like a very risky demo.
Yeah, but that's not exactly the same kind of
But my
extension
claim is
to
this
the
will not
AST.
compile. My claim is this will compile.
Yeah, but this is not the kind of extension to the AST we were talking about before.
No, this is different. This is about handling the nodes. The good thing of this is on my user interface doesn't need to understand anything other than this record to map.
Yeah, but what you want to do if a plugin wants to add, if you want to have a plugin specific information in your AST, what do you put?
I look at my style. Okay.
That's not true, sorry, but
Fine,
what do you
it's
do?
called Linarc. Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, right, but so how is that going to be any different from?
Oh, this is a bit orthogonal, so
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
What is
but
the
that's what
goal?
you're saying.
So I'm clearly in favor of this style of having attribute passing stuff on every node rather than inside of the node. That's a very good style. What I'm complaining about right now is that the purpose of this thing is to have easy extensibility and value passing and attribute
yes, so
passing.
but this is not about extensibility. It's about handling certain things in a uniform way.
Yeah, right.
This is what the
But-
PR I tried to name. So yes, I see your point.
But the second part of the PR is to indeed have something extensible there, right?
Well, at least if I want to change your attribute, you don't have to change any code now. This is what I wanted to show here. So now I can just say, of course, you see, I take care of this and then this is good.
I hope you've tried that before, because otherwise.
No, I didn't try it before. Let's see, but I never tried. Let's see if it works. Maybe it breaks, but in theory it shouldn't break.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah, but what if?
No, but this is because I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't rebase this because the rebase took quite a few hours to do a rebase of this patch. No, so this started because the history of this PR started because I needed, so maybe we can discuss, I'll take time from the other 5 minutes to discuss whether we merge it or not, because if not, then I just close it and that's it, it's okay.
Do you want to discuss this now, or?
Well, we could try to do that, okay. So my computer switched down because...
So you want extra time, but that is compensated by saving time on the afternoon?
Yes, I mean, okay, you can
Maybe we
move to
should move
discuss
the
it.
next presentation
Maybe-
to the beginning of the afternoon.
Sorry, yeah, I knew this will happen, shit. Yes, my working conditions are not the best. I don't even have a working computer. So I need to basically, I need to, whenever I want to hack with my laptop, I need to set up into a special power enclosure so it doesn't
I
sit
think
down.
at the first coding sprint, the same happened to Pierre-Marie with his hard drive, if I'm right.
It broke down?
You took your laptop and you lost your hard drive.
I know, that was the battery, I think.
So well, that means code was compiling though. It means at least compilation progress, no everything now is gonna be corrupted. Yeah, but still it's gonna switch down again. I just need to fix it. It's not because of battery, it's just a very old laptop I stole from a student.
But
I
yeah,
stop recycling.
what do you have exactly to argue about this PR? I think it's a very good.
Well,
statement.
he's the main
just
person
a-
who stopped it to merge.
Yes, my main concern is that the only thing we have seen is that lock was moved outside.
Yes.
It is, the PL says that it is meant to be extensible. I don't understand how this is extensible.
Not
Just
yet.
adding-
No, it's not.
No, not
Obviously
yet.
it's not. But just for manipulation
It
of
helps
locations.
us
We intend to make it extensible. I don't understand that, and it was never explained.
Oh, you didn't say that in the comment though.
I mean,
It's information
it's-
we're
I
I
said
think-
in the comment that it was only about lock.
Okay,
and it was not
yeah, but
about
No,
attribute.
yeah,
It's also
let's
gonna-
stay.
Calm.
Wait a second. It's true that you didn't ask, and it's true that you didn't explain, and probably both should have happened in some order.
It's explained, right?
So maybe you can explain now.
What do you want me to explain? No,
How,
this is
how does it?
How do you
No, but
expect
this-
it to be extensible?
Let me see if I wrote extensible, but I think I didn't
No,
talk
no,
about
no.
extensible.
No,
Well,
we don't.
not the discussion. The Because this discussion means is it's reply. uniform attribute handling. It's not about extensibility, it's
No.
about uniformity of handling the attributes like
Where are
location.
the attributes in your pull request?
When you say
Where are they?
attributes,
Right,
it
but
means
the
it's
location.
different. Yeah.
Didn't you edit the title?
So you could write
No, no, no,
uniform
no.
location
No,
handling.
take history. So I don't know where this extensibility is totally different extensibility. This is interesting, I know. So says the path switches for Coq interfaces, in particular the ones in to use not located and CST. It is to uniformly handle all located and not objects, which is something the IDs need. Now in my IDE, when Coq is giving me in GS Coq in conclusion, when Coq is giving me the located information in the all approach, I need to parse. I need to know all the constructors. Here I don't give a shit. I just recognize the node type, so I can really, I have even, it's not working now, but I can look with my mouse and use the serialized thing for every, it follows very elegantly in the document because it comes back. So
Okay.
this is,
But then you say
to change
Yes,
to the
the second
ASP,
phrase.
Exactly.
extensible.
Yeah.
Just for good practices.
Well,
that's a very good thing.
Maybe the
Robustness.
word is not the best. But
And now can you answer the?
well, the answer,
where are the
answer
attributes?
what I meant by extensible.
But
I
what did
don't
you mean by
think you should
attributes?
use extensible. You should use that is robust
Robustness,
in face
I
of
think.
changes to the EST. Yeah, let me try to.
This is what you say. If you use a different word, then of course you cannot convince people that it is extensible.
Okay, but
because
this
it
is like
not.
very by extensible. I meant like actually you can change the node type and no code breaks.
This is robust.
This is
Okay,
robustness.
Robust
okay, cool.
change,
Okay,
yeah.
so, but this is like easy to solve. Okay, this is what I meant.
No, I think you
That's
have a
fine. I
point.
think.
If you try to convince
Let's see,
people
maybe it
something
doesn't
else.
work because I just do this change. I don't even know if the.
But
if
then the second question was where are the
Extensibility.
attributes?
There is
This
only
is
one
where I
attribute.
start laughing.
There is only one attribute which is location. No, you are free to add it, but the only
Uh-huh.
thing is this will help. You are free to add what you want.
I think we're reaching.
And how do you do
We are
that?
gonna get the answer. We're gonna get.
All situation. Okay, all situation. You wanted to do attributes. You had to spend 3,000 lines modifying everything. New
Fine,
situation.
fine. That's
We could do
all
attributes
agree
now.
on that.
New
I think.
situation. You add 2 lines here, and you modify the parser,
And you have a
and
new
just what you
attribute.
want. This is not my question because I don't know what the use case is for
Just
attributes.
that
This is for
We,
people.
we
in
all
attributes.
agree on that. The,
Okay.
the one question is, what do you put as attributes? And
Yeah,
how do
okay,
you
but
extend them
How
in?
to be
For as a client, I am a client. I am writing a plugin, and
You can't.
I want to add attributes. And what do? Do I encode everything in the location? Just using strings, as you say? I mean, it's isomorphic to NAS, right?
No, no.
I think.
That's very weird.
Somehow if all AST nodes are represented like this, what if you want to have some special attributes only for some kinds of nodes and only for others?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
a
not enforced by type system now.
By anything. yeah.
Well, this is the OCaml attribute implementation is a list of strings, so I don't know. Attributes.
What do
again,
you mean by the OCaml attribute implementation?
I mean by the thing used by PPX.
Okay.
Square
Because
bracket
PPX,
add.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
OCaml allows you to attach any attribute to parts of syntax, like deprecated. So actually what it does is just stores as a list of
Yeah.
strings.
No, it's not only strings. You can also
but
have.
I think what we're missing is that we don't have any apparent use case for this attributes.
Well,
No.
that's because
Well,
some
we
people,
will.
some
We
people
have.
were supposed to work on
Do we?
attributes for this release, but
Different
My
kind of
name was
attributes.
not written on the list, so
Like,
I'm not the one
I think mine
responsible.
was.
Switches,
But one use
switches.
case we have in the source code is just implemented in a completely weird way. Comments.
comments are
Yeah.
not stored in the AST, but for example,
okay.
Yeah, very good example.
No, actually, imagine that I want to have an attribute for QAD, where I would do special stuff if some plugins is loaded, and it will be as attribute, which means that it's totally harmless for if the plugins is not used, it will be ignored. But I just want to have this information for QAD, not for all AST, and then this mechanism is not useful in this case.
Well, I don't know. It is useful, but it will not enforce what it learned.
Yeah, so
But you can
I mean,
still
No,
do
it-
it.
I mean, yeah,
No, it's
I
good
agree.
because, sorry guys, I was compiling a work in progress version. No, let's see, no.
But,
That-
but
that's
right
okay,
now
I-
it's not
we-
very
really-
useful because the only way to extend it is to change the code of Coq.
No, but I think, I mean, to convince
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Guillaume, I think
Yeah.
what we need to say is what are the next steps of the plan. So
Yeah.
to convince him that this is the right first step.
But
And I think I agree. I mean, planning.
Even
I'm fine with
without-
just this step. I don't need the next step right
Yes,
now.
even-
But if there is no next step, then I don't see why.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree. We don't need a further step in order for this to be useful
not
already.
point
Just
to
for
have
the
more
sake of
than
uniformity and robustness, as you
Well,
said.
for
we
me,
should
it's
tell
very
him
useful at least.
That's
Okay, actually I said it as a right. Depending on what the next step is. If there are no next step, okay. But if there is a next step, then maybe we will just let this community implement it because it was not the good structure.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
no,
okay.
that's
Good work,
that,
good
no,
work.
it's just standard
Good
way
work.
of writing ASTs in any reasonable.
Now also
I think
the
it's
question is whether
it's standard
the goal-
practice
the
Yeah,
goal
but-
is good, and whether
to have
if the
a
goal is
decorated.
good, this is the right way to reach it.
Hmm.
Because I mean, the same thing what you want now is actually like
I'm fine with it.
ad hoc polymorphism. You don't care what you have, but you want location, and give me the location. So
Yeah, that's a fine use case.
by the object-oriented things, and you get that. I mean, the all AST nodes are objects. You ask, okay, give me the location, and they will give you the location.
It's true that comments.
And you don't care. You don't care
I can
how it is. What is the type? You don't care what is the
But you have to
function because you just know that you send.
I'm
one
having
thing.
trouble,
You cannot
how
extend
that works,
AST
because what I get, so when I ask for a for a representation of the AST, what I get is a JSON term,
You get
C'est
what?
dégueulasse.
a JSON
Il y a
term.
un buffer à côté.
So usually in a,
JSON.
yeah, of course. So not even Isabel, I don't think neither Isabel or neither Coq can really like word this way as you propose.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, now if I want to have a location first, I need to.
Okay, but again,
location
but this
on the
is very
type.
interesting because
Then if
actually,
I know that this is the kind of this, I have to know the name of the function for this kind of. Yeah, it's inconvenient. So that's what you are trying to solve.
yeah, but actually this is interesting because what you're proposing is to have allocation methods that I will have to implement for every node, whereas here, apart from the efficiency thing, and store in my particular way, whereas here I just have a simple record shared by everybody.
But this is a discussion about record type versus object and then dynamic dispatch. I think it's completely,
Yeah.
completely irrelevant.
Relevant, right?
Well,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Wow.
This is more okay. So I don't know. This is in line with what modern AST handling is these days by
Yeah.
many tools. So this is a bit update because actually it doesn't change anything. It's just a bit update. It makes it cleans up. If you look at the diff, really the cleanup is quite considerable. In particular, because if you look anywhere, so
Yeah,
it's
but
gonna-
I think I can. I mean, the concern is that if we want to evaluate the cost-benefit ratio,
Also,
it
that's the
depends.
second thing, by the
It
way.
depends on whether we are really going to implement another attribute soon or not. And I hope the answer is
no,
yes.
I
Not even
disagree.
I don't
disagree.
think it's.
But I didn't say the merge decision depends on it. I said the evaluation of the ratio depends on it, and I think it's true.
No,
It's
because
not
actually
just
no,
not
this
exactly
is
the
just,
same
This
ratio.
is a side effect. It could help that case.
Yes, so maybe the ratio
But
is
we
good
don't
in
know,
both cases, but it's clear that if we have a clear plan to implement a new attribute, then the ratio is very good, and
Yes.
then there is no debate whatsoever.
Yes, yes.
So my feeling was that we were in this situation anyway, that we wanted to implement an
Yeah,
attribute.
very good example.
Logical thing.
Are we going to add an attribute soon? or-
I think
Which
not
one?
in 8.7, but
No, in 8.8 for instance. Which one?
Which
Which would be the first one that we are going to implement in practice?
Yeah, so use this for instance, all the time
Local?
here, all the times here you are having to,
The log doesn't matter.
yeah, all the time locations. So for instance, this really cleans up many parts like location. And also there is another small cleanup, like I guess have to remove location ghost, which is also a pain for the IDs and for other tools to have this location ghost, Because in some parts of the code you were using option lock too.
Yeah, no, that's the real problem. No, because
That's
when you
another
say it the first
implementation.
time, it sounds like again you're going crazy on having
No, but I think
a
option
dummy
lock is
value
okay.
and rather than an option type. But in fact, in some places we had both, and this clearly makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because then you could distinguish, the code could distinguish between
Yes.
some of a ghost and none.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Why is the projection called V?
Is the value of the node, yeah. Well, you can rename it as you want. My take send a patch renaming a couple of things. I will merge it, I think.
So what do you currently think about this? You should need
Oh gosh, you're using, I haven't seen that, you're using the horrible at syntax.
Definition of
No,
the-
no.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Why do you do that?
Because your fear is that it's
What?
changing a lot of code.
The
and
at syntax. I mean,
It doesn't
very
affect
good
them.
application.
probably more
What?
efficient.
I don't like this. It's very useful though.
The gain
Dollar.
is minimal.
Well, minimal for you. This I disagree.
Hmm.
For GSCO, for instance, is an example.
Yeah, for
GSCO
the
has no
idea.
way to map the AST without this.
A lot easier.
Minimal for you.
What? No, you can always write it, it's just going to be painful.
The
No,
location
I'm not
element
gonna.
doesn't
Okay,
need to
no,
know
I
the-
No, no, okay, no,
I'm
no.
not a stupid
No,
programmer.
but
I'm
that,
not
that's
gonna
what
write-
Emilio was saying.
Okay, okay. Not being
As
able
it's
doesn't...
painful, so it's a gain.
I know. I won't
Okay.
do it.
You save pain.
Fine.
It's a gain.
That's a
Good.
strong assumption.
Yeah, it does. That's the AST gets. So.
Can we
With
conclude?
all the serialization
We
stuff,
are
and
trying to-
serialize the data type.
We're trying to see.
I see a lot of apartheid.
Yeah.
We need to part.
No, I think
no.
the main objections came from
Maybe
from Jean.
But I think
What is
it's
the
not
answer concerning
Yeah,
the
yeah,
concern
this
that
type.
sometimes you want to extend in this way, like location or other things, only some kinds of
For instance.
AST elements, but not others. And this way you extend
small one.
all things, and
But
then you can create nonsensical, attached nonsensical attributes to.
no, you just put it
This
up
really
inside.
happens in your camera. There's a
Just put an
problem
option-
in
an
this.
option type.
Yeah, but yeah,
But that, I mean, my point was more that nothing is specific to. Your remark makes sense,
for
but
example,
it's not specific to this.
For example, I would like with the type checker, I would like to make sure that it's not possible to add certain attributes to QAD to anything else, just QAD. That's one useful here.
No,
No,
for syntax
that's
you
not.
cannot do that. You have to enforce it in the grammar.
There is a lot of invariance in the parsing that is not enforced by.
Yeah, that's-
You have to do that in the grammar then.
Things are today, and it's maybe
That's
that's
not
now-
really the case.
This is not making things work.
Can I ask a stupid question? About these notations.
Mm-hmm.
Do they disappear completely from the more compact form like Consta?
That's a good question.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
And this is
And
surprising.
do we think it's a good thing?
I would
Because
tend to
for
think
error
it is.
reporting, for example, it might be...
Yeah, but you don't want to see that in the kernel. Or you would
You see
like...
names, I mean.
But the point is that if this
Yep.
data stays in the kernel, then it doesn't stay in this form, because this is extremely inefficient. You double the depth of the tree.
Yeah,
by
it,
this
it
technique.
costs a
So I'm
lot.
not sure it's a good idea. If we want to keep them in this format. I think it would be nice to have them in the kernel.
I'm not sure. So I definitely agree that we want attributes at a higher level, but I'm not sure that it really makes
In
sense.
the
that
kernel,
in
it doesn't
the-
make sense
in the
because
const,
errors are going to happen in pretyping, so you still have the locations there.
No, the point is that if you just parse a term and go back, you lose all this information.
Oh, but then of course,
But
then
then
in this,
the question is, why do you have to do this?
in this is what the step. Yeah.
Usually just the interface is not
going back and forth, you mean?
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, but in this,
Because
in
going
this
back and forth is not something that you often have to do.
Universities.
yeah.
No, but if you do a pre-processor like
Juste le petit peur.
as well,
Ouais, tu
for
peux pas appeler deux
example,
fois le petit.
then
c'est
you
complètement
are
raté.
going to do a lot of computation with the conster form, and then people will see their code reappearing in after processing, and they may want to be able to trace back where they did the change that provoked this thing. It may not be an error that is detected by Coq, it's an error that people will detect in the code they generate or something like that. Well, I know we don't maintain correctness in that was an example of using Coq as a programming thing.
You should be careful when you say we
We don't mind
maintain
thinking.
correctness
What do you mean by
anymore,
that?
right?
It has a meaning.
I was thinking about the correctness plugin that was the predecessor of
Ah.
Yeah, I got good design again, but you're right.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Correctness is overrated.
We all think-
But I think if it's right, okay, maybe merging we can be more discussed after lunch.
Yeah.
I think the impact, personally, I think the impact is surprisingly low because actually very few plugins use the AST. Most of them they use the thing. So I don't know, it really depends. For me, it makes make a lot of difference for me. It's my opinion, of course. It's for me, this is what I wrote it. And pardon, Pierre-Marie?
But I mean, even in Coq code, it's relevant.
Yeah.
I think so.
And
Yeah,
in particular, enables
But
other
maybe
things.
in SSR, for example.
So
use
I will just briefly
constants.
wrap up 2
No,
minutes
fine.
because Gilles is right. If
Yeah,
if
just
it's right, we should wrap up. So
And
there is
funny?
this step, which actually the step process has a few.
What is it?
Let's not get into word, but this is very strange because the step process proposed to do process to propose step without a number. So then you have no way to name them. Okay, so I didn't follow the process and I put 12.
And
Yeah,
the set process is not merged in
My feeling is that the C, okay, just to
This
clarify,
is- If you just
yeah,
have a
I
number in
don't feel
there.
like I'm in charge of coordinating the C
No, I think
process.
Enrico wanted to merge his
On
own
God
tool.
to do it.
I
Okay.
reminded you.
So yeah, okay. Sorry for
Anyway,
the vast discussion. I was unable, but mainly this is going a bit further. This was motivated by Pierre-Marie. Comment this step. You may have a look.
Ah, mais je pense que t'as pas le temps.
And actually, what he's trying is to make internalization more resistant also to locations to attribute by sharing the type. And well, there are the same things. You have this stuff. Define the AST. This is already done. And the second phase is making actually const markup const, making it const esp. And actually, well, here is the analysis of the two types. But basically, the new type will be a type which is generic on the variables, generic on case. So, for instance, Enrico could base that on doing a new pattern matching compiler, generic on the syntax, and this is generic. This is the recursive thing because we built in the typical fashion. And in fact, mainly, so for instance, you can have like a parse expression. It's something using parsing bars, parsing case, parsing syntax, parsing expression, resolve expression, for instance. You could even resolve a expression without resolving the notation, but this doesn't make sense, I think. And for instance, a core expression is this one, P case, R case, P syntax, where syntax has been removed. This you can use to, for instance, with this, you need to, because of the parser, you need to tweak a bit more, had its own hooks, not in the hook sense. But for instance, this will mean you could have a plugin for implementing different notations, if you wanted.
So just as a remark, we already do that for LSAC, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, for
To
all types
factorize
we
like
do
this?
for the type of
the
globalized expression, yeah. And well, and here you have, if you want to have a look at the step, so this is for comments maybe for the next Coq Working Group, we can talk more. Here you have the analysis of what the differences are. Recursive definitions are basically, this is Ayasugo, and he told me was mainly, they got off of sync, they used to be the same. And abstraction is, as Enrico pointed, you have a list versus non-list. This is maybe the most complex thing. What I didn't make my mind what should be the proper thing here, and there is much pain.
Is that clarification?
Yeah, so this is just a list of Pinter expressions, and here you have just a bounder.
Yeah, so it's unary.
It's
Yeah,
lambda
unary.
ABC
So
versus
that's-
lambda A, lambda B, lambda C.
Usually that's really
It's not purification, no. It's just
yeah.
lambda compaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just there's no. I think there's no point in keeping the left.
Yeah, in fact, because in particular, for instance, that's true that
Well, for
Coq-
printing. For printing
Yeah.
Yeah,
compactors.
but
No, it will print anyway disregarding.
So in particular, that is true. For instance, definition.
Content
I don't know if you can
is
see,
different.
folks.
Are you sure that this quashing of the two lambdas is not exactly done by the externalization phase?
what? Yes, it is.
Yeah, no, but in the.
So you need to do two representations.
But
No,
the
but-
applications don't have the same semantics.
No.
You can't, yes,
Apply to A and then to B is not the same as apply to A and to B at the same time. Okay.
No, wait a second.
So
we're
you
talking
see-
about the lambdas.
Yeah, but I guess there is the dual.
You
in
see
the
really
app,
here, like the difference
Or
is,
maybe
it
not.
doesn't matter a lot in practice, as far as I can see, you see. So the difference is whether you're writing this or this, it has different syntax trees. But then you see, then you put the printing of both. is the
Yeah,
same.
because
suddenly-
the const x corresponding to this are the same, right?
Yeah, but I'm suddenly
no.
remembering, how do you do?
No. This is
Ah, it's also not
lambda.
written?
This is lambda of a list with one element.
The construct? Yeah,
It goes back, it merges
Okay.
consecutive lambdas.
I am just remembering I have
Just
some...
This is a disk.
Yeah, okay, Yep. I'm thinking. So I remember Mathieu hacking something because when you have types and when you have sharing of binders, then you can't. You have to remember that it's the same one or not. Right? I think in some cases it matters.
Well, you mean
Because
the semantics of X, Y, column T,
Yes.
column type, in fact.
Yeah, as-
is it the
what- yeah.
same or is it? But I think we didn't even make up our mind on the intended semantics there.
I don't know.
Come on, it's hijacking the data structure you have. If you
Yeah,
want to
right,
have
okay,
together
fine.
things,
You can share it using a let binding. That's true.
you do something like that way.
Yeah.
What is your point?
But we have to be careful.
You're not
Oh, my point is actually, even if both have different parse trees, they're printed the same.
But I think the
Yes.
point is that we have.
What's wrong with that?
No, nothing is wrong, but actually, he's questioning.
There's no reason to keep the multiple lambda form.
Well, yes, because otherwise you don't get that printing.
No, but this is
That's what I'm
just how you
saying. This
code
is
the
printing a
printer.
lambda, a multiple lambda.
Yeah, but the printer could be
So
more
you need
more
it.
clever.
No,
and
the
just-
printer could just look ahead and see how
Yes.
many lambdas are.
This is what he's
Yeah,
doing
row
now.
and
This is what he's doing now, in fact.
Yeah,
This
they-
is what
they-
he's doing now.
the
Yeah, not in the
externalization
data
is doing that,
structure,
yeah.
but in the...
So
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, I'm sure it does that. I mean, if it includes several lists,
Ah, yeah.
just
That's a. Yeah, of course. Well, what you said is that if you do lambda lambda and then lambda lambda,
Well-
it anyway merges the two
Yes.
lambda lambda lists.
which is strange.
You have the same code. Just
Which is strange somehow because in the kernel we have a specific the application is I'm thinking about that, application is represented. We don't have the same duality for lambda as an application.
Yeah, but here also I was wondering about application because
Application,
applying
yeah.
to two things at the same time or one and one is not the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean the same thing in
So-
the
The syntax is different.
So
So,
maybe
so
you're
doesn't,
saying
doesn't,
that-
isn't
the
that
kernel is the
isn't
same.
that why we are having lambda?
Maybe the point is printing decisions are now made in two different places. The one that builds the last step, so the
That's also
lambda with
alright.
the list,
That's already okay.
and the printer.
That's already okay.
I think this is a complicated question there.
So if you remove the list and you merge the two data types, then the printing decision is
Have to be
only
do more.
can only be taken at printing time.
Yeah.
I mean, merging or not the lambdas. It
But
has
I-
only to
in
be
my op-
taken there.
in
I
my-
have no idea if it's more or less natural. But I
think
would
it's-
keep the unary lambda.
I think it's better. I mean, it's a bit strange that some printing decisions today really change the expression. That
Yeah,
Yeah.
What do you think, Ugo, about the multiple binder for syntax?
I don't really know what it looks to me like changing isomorphism by isomorphism structure.
No, he wants to merge the two data types.
Yeah, but I need to take a choice here.
This means having a multiple
And that's
binders
right.
in block
Yeah.
You think so? You
No,
think
no,
that's
the other
not
way.
it?
Or the other way.
Yes, but the other way out, who does the printer?
Yeah, for instance, but
Yeah,
this is
that's what I'm
still
saying,
to the pretyper though, so it really makes an impact whether the pretyper wants
Something
to.
which has to be done somewhere, so
Yeah.
whether it's done at this phase or
Well,
at this
So
phase
the point is we want the
Doesn't change much.
pretyper to be aware of the multiple lambdas in the multiple binding.
it seems like you have a
Incapable
request for
one, yeah.
funding.
Incapable one. Yeah. C'est le droit de répondre.
Yeah, if you keep the block conster one, then you could hope for interfaces with the pretyping first staying the same. Then you have to push the changes.
Maybe the pretyper, maybe make it.
This problem
Yeah,
is
if
about
you-
const, it's not about block const.
No, it is
It's
block
no,
const
it's block conster.
and constraint.
No, but the definition X, it's printing an M because
No,
it
but-
goes to const.
And it goes back.
Yeah, but the thing is that there are two data types today, constructor export and dot constructor, and they differ on that constructor.
And
And the rest is the same.
But I think I agree, but if we never make use of this information,
well, it's not clear because of universities and sharing and everything. So I would be careful. I mean, we have to be very careful about that and what we be able to express.
Okay, I think it's your point.
yeah.
Le problème, c'est quelle est la
Yeah.
sémantique du
So no, if you remove this, when you pass a multiple lambda, what does it mean?
Yes.
Oh, then you need to output.
You share the
several
type?
lambdas.
Yeah, but it's not what it's
Do
doing.
you share the type?
Yeah.
Do you share the type for all the lambdas, or do you retype the type? That's the question.
It's
If
not
you
the same
write
thing.
parentheses, x, y, column, type,
Well,
end of parentheses.
well,
If you parse it as two lambdas,
no, to parse. No, parsing is different. You parse 1,000, and then you build.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
no,
if
when
you
you
type,
type
sorry,
semantics,
if
if
you
you-
build,
Yeah,
if you build two unary lambdas,
or
and you just,
Yeah.
and what do you put in the domain of the lambda?
You need to put the type of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you,
it's
but
not
you
the
put the
same.
same
Then you copy
or
it.
two different ones.
yeah, what is copying?
Well, will be referenced by a pointer because will be like.
So you introduce a Latin, for instance.
Huh?
No. It's
Pointer
not,
is what?
it's not pointer.
He's
It's
right.
some kind of stupid representation, memory representation. Really, the problem is that
He's
if you
art
have
anyway, so.
if you have two lambdas with two block constants, then it's not going to be pretyped in the same way as having
I see, so
one
really
shared.
we
But
should
this
take.
is, I think, the semantics of the thing that depends on how you parse the. It's a bit fragile.
It's
No,
fragile,
that's
maybe,
true.
maybe we want a pretyper be aware. Yeah, but maybe we want a pretyper be aware of multiple bindings.
That's true, but people have been surprised already because
But,
of
yeah, in fact, I think depending, I agree with half of what you said. If the rule is the typing rule should care about the sharing, then the pretyper should be
should
should
have
know about
information.
this multiple
Maybe
binding.
the result-
And it's not the case, so it hints to
No, in one
having-
for universities it is, and
No,
they
no,
say
no,
that
no, no,
it's
no.
a half.
Yeah.
Not the same. Okay.
No, it's for a second. What is it?
sections. I think share the same universe or something.
But
Yeah.
okay. Hey guys, I
Variables.
propose. But we're
Variable
not late. I
differences.
propose something. I propose we will continue at Le Croisic with this. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if there's interest, I propose something. So in fact, just 1 minute to wrap up. One thing I did is I make notation, a pass. This is almost finished. This was already done by patterns by Pierre Boutillard in 2012. It's very useful, by the way. So now, for instance, patterns are unfolded in the syntax, the notation in patterns, and then you do the rest of the internalization. So something I wanted to experiment is to do, the last part of the roadmap is to experiment, before moving this is precisely this part of moving, is to do notation as a syntax-to-syntax transformation, then do implicit arguments as a syntax-to-syntax transformation, and then do variable resolution as a syntax-to-syntax transformation, and this syntax is the input to the pretyper, right? In line with this. And what I have to say to close, I would like to say in particular that something this is claiming, for instance, is really making many questions about what are the semantics of many things. Okay? This effect of this factoring, for instance, about what should happen to the right side of annotation.
I have the impression that not everybody agrees that you can make it a syntax-to-syntax transformation.
Yes, why not?
Because you need type information to do this transformation.
No, really, this is
not
not.
different.
not the case.
This is just taking the path whiz. No, I'm not modifying the path whiz. I'm just taking the path whiz in 3 times, and then untangling the path in 3
But in
different
fact,
passes.
I already raised that concern in the report. So we have one phase today that doesn't know about types, but that phase does 3 things, and the interaction between those 3 things inside the phase is not clearly
Yeah, sometimes it's
defined
not,
specifically.
questions arise. So some
Yeah.
questions arise, for instance, how would you like to, for instance, it makes sense like you don't propose, it makes sense that maybe when you are substituting for annotation, so it makes sense here when you parse this, you may want to process this for implicit arguments too.
I think even in our mind, when
Nobody knows,
we use
yeah.
Coq, we don't do the same thing. For instance, for notations, what I do, I clearly do the binding in my mind. I see notations as something that I can just replace where they are used, and then I interpret the right-hand side of the notation, so that's very late binding. That's just what I do in my mind, with my model. And some of us have different models. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but the fact that we clearly don't have the same models is not good, because I mean, when we
This model should be explained to me.
yes,
Yes,
that's my point.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like happens with the binder and a hole in the type, this kind of refactoring in this is raising many questions with our behaviors that, as you say, they are not very clear. At least maybe in the code, maybe there is, but it's not like written anywhere. So I don't know.
Maybe
Not even in the code.
Now that we talk about this, I have another use case for your attributes, like notation scopes. How are they represented today? The parentheses % now.
I think with that, it's a part of the AST. Is that the
C
limiter?
notation.
So there is a node.
Yeah, there is a normal AST.
Yeah,
It's
it
still
could
the
be made an
limiter.
attribute.
I mean, you can put it everywhere.
Yes.
Here they are.
Right?
Yeah, but attribute can be only with the node, whereas the notation can be a block.
But this is a node too. It's an application.
But if there is no block to attach the notation, how would you use just attributes?
There's always a
What
block.
is it now? This
It's
thing.
the
Okay, so
limiter.
it's already exactly an attribute.
Yeah.
It's a string attached to an expression, so you don't change. I mean, I'm not saying that,
should.
I couldn't
I-
understand
yeah, but
exactly the case.
I'm not sure though. I'm not sure you want this to be an attribute though.
Why not?
In particular, because this is.
I was selling your podcast.
Which no, sorry, no. I'm not gonna sell my something I have to say. I didn't say okay. I say attributes. For me, the only attribute that could make sense is location, and of course.
Contradiction! The world exploded!
No, but this is already very useful. But my point is, this is extremely useful.
No,
This
but
is
at least it
extremely
makes things
useful.
clear.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think what
I'm
you're
not gonna
saying
say
is that
something that I don't think it is.
if we want to conclude the discussion on this pull request, we'd better evaluate it with only what there is today.
Exactly. What it is today, not
But at
what
least
it
it
can be.
answers
No, I'm not saying you should move your. I said this is a play. This could be moved. This could be an attribute, right?
The point is then for reparsing, I don't think like for printing you want to look at the attributes for printing and certainly notation scope is something you want to print back to the user.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this is a discussion. So,
But it will stay.
but at least
could be-
so,
it's a
so
bit
all that I
wasteful,
can
but-
say for attributes is the pull request of the attributes of the location attribute enables more discussion to happen. It's not clear to me what the attributes are. Otherwise, I will have implement attributes.
But
this doesn't-
other
I mean,
attributes.
wait, just to be clear, it would not prevent the interface from printing them. It would just give the choice to the interface, right?
I think rather like the printing shouldn't look at the attributes for
okay,
me.
okay. So
Okay, so that would be one specification of attributes that is printing independence.
because I had some attributes in mind that I think we could
Yes.
like the proof modes.
Yeah, for instance.
Proof
yeah.
modes. Proof mode annotations in LTAC subterm. If that's an attribute, I mean, you do want to print that
I think
because
for me,
otherwise.
okay, for me this is open. I don't know. Let's not overuse the attribute
But
thing.
there is no technical, just to clarify again, there is no technical limitation preventing from printing something that is in an attribute.
No, yeah, but I don't know for the
It's,
attention.
Of course.
it's cumbersome because you have to look at the attribute and know what to do with
So,
one
anyways,
attribute. So
Yeah. I
it's
propose
the
we
same
have-
way UI
Yeah,
things are
attribute.
broken.
I propose we
Yeah,
have
I do
attributes
that.
and then we are done.
So now if we rephrase the
Yeah,
question
yeah.
Yes.
there is only location.
Yeah.
So we edit the title of the pull request and we change our mindset. This is a pull request about
Location.
cleanup related to locations.
Yes.
Would you be against it?
Oh no, because it's actually what I do for Wi-Fi.
You should compete for the the best troll in the
But
Coq
actually
team.
for Wi-Fi we do have actual attributes. And
We could throw it as some stuff. Yeah, it's going to compile fine.
Yeah. No, but I still hope we will make some use. But if Emilio is not convinced, then it would be better to evaluate without relying on this.
No, this is like with
So-
software.
so
When
you-
you sell software, you should sell
So
for
can
what
I
is
merge?
today.
Can I merge this pull request?
I am in favor of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we
Okay, as a cleanup. On
Yeah. Is
location.
there anybody against? That's probably the one question we should ask. No, you don't seem to be.
There is some cost, but I think the cost is not
Which
so
cost?
high.
What cost?
Oh,
you mean?
then
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Of
Dynamic
course,
cost
of
or-
a couple
to
of
be
plugins
about-
that need a couple of changes.
All right, but it's going to be done once, and
Yeah, that's okay.
Just on the technical side, if don't rebase
I'm not
on
worried
the
about
MathCom
I'm
plugin.
not too worried
Don't
about
do
that.
just drop
The
those
size
changes,
of syntax trees.
give them to me
But you
somewhere
don't use
because
them that often.
No, the matcom plugin is done already.
yeah, but I mean I cut it in. I mean, if you have any more work to do, don't do
No,
it.
it's done, so
Yeah,
you
but
can
I
take
mean,
my
Yeah,
branch
but
of
they
matcom
change all
and
the
see.
interfaces and cut the things in pieces. And
But
Makes
look
sense
at the
of
pull
the
request in
ones that
matcom. Well, there's not a
not
pull
in the page
request.
now, right?
Look at the tree in matcom and
How often do
It
you
will be a bit painful for me,
usefully
but that's fine.
no, not very painful. I can take care of that. Okay. It compiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And adding attachment doubles the number of blocks actually.
This is-
to parse the calculator for single term.
Yeah.
So I was saying for
in
terms,
the kernel, we mean.
I don't think it's feasible.
Yeah.
For,
For syntax,
Well,
we rarely make big.
there could
But what's the difference of a tuple versus a record? It's not
it's
so large.
flat in camel.
yes.
No, a record and a tuple, okay.
It's
No
the
big.
same.
But many times it's already a tuple. Many
We
places.
could probably
No,
use.
you're not talking about the same level.
So
So you have a
but
tuple
already
that
it's mix
contains
and
one.
mix. It's mix and mix.
In the case of OCaml and kernel terms, we could be probably using the camel 403, I think, in the recalls that are in lines.
Yeah.
So it would cost one more word by for every node of the kernel term. And that wouldn't. Okay, so that would have a cost. But the question is that do we really want to have attributes in kernel terms? And there, I'm not very convinced. So
But I think
at some point we need.
we were discussing two things here. Is that the addition to the kernel, and this is too early.
We are just
But we were also discussing
efficiency of
potential
just this.
efficiency
Oh,
issues.
that this has no
Did
implication.
we run the benchmarking thing on?
Yeah, there was.
Was it
There was a little bit.
You've
right?
run the
There was like
benchmark, right?
2%.
Yeah, it was. It's a very small impact. 1%,
Not even.
50%.
I'm even surprised that it's that much because we really don't do anything. I mean,
But we benchmarked the download times.
okay, so
1% is
What's very
minus
small,
1% is equal to minus
but-
1.
I claimed that
To zero.
benchmark-wise, I claimed this could be micro-optimized and recover the performance. I just, if you look at the patch, I didn't micro-optimize many things.
I claim that there is no performance
I
impact
claim the same. Yeah.
because that,
It doesn't matter if the way recursion was done before. I used some combinators, and this is in fact way worse. This is my own fault and internalization, but I could rewrite that and
Right.
gain this missing 0.9% in hot.
internalization is really. I can tell you that in practice, internalization is just really.
It's never a
cheap.
hotspot.
Yeah, it's
right?
never a hotspot.
So
So
there is many,
No,
many,
but that's not the point.
But externalization?
It's easy. You just run Coq before you count the number of times the garbage collector was run. You run it after one and you compare, and that explains why it is systematically 1% slower. I'm not saying 1% slower is actually an issue.
No, it's not.
What I'm saying is that it is measured.
no, it's 1% is lower in one development only. In hot.
do we? I'm
The
not
rest
sure.
is not
So,
noticeable.
so I would actually. I'm not sure about that because we actually rarely generate huge terms. Most of the terms we write as cluster or the huge terms
Well, you cannot talk about in the place of JSON.
Not.
It's obviously
even
generating
writing
huge terms.
tactics, everything goes through consters. He's never writing things through glob consters or.
You were saying that we were
keep.
keeping blob consters before.
But beyond
Right.
the performance is misguided.
You were saying that we
is
were keeping blob
because I
consters all
could
the
find one
time.
day optimized
Yes,
it,
but not
and
the
I
one
will
we
know way
generate.
faster
I
than
think I
yesterday.
said that it was not
The argument
But I
tactic?
was complaining that saying that
No, that's always going to be small.
It
I
has
think.
an impact, it is not important, but it has an impact.
Today.
He's never going to write a
And
huge
you
term.
could improve it.
By
That
tactical
was
argument.
important.
It generates them, so they are consters, but they are never stored as blob consters.
So maybe it's a good time to go for lunch. So I suggest that we move the API talk for this after lunch. But anyway, that's also a discussion on one pull request. So that's also, I mean, the whole working group is one block basically.
Fine. Conversation, dismissal.